Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for once again another Premier League preview in which we will discuss all sorts of things. Don't worry, we will not just be previewing the game. We'll give our predictions, our predicted lineups, the lineups we would like to see, and most importantly, arguably, especially with our current form on the pitch, we will talk about transfer rumours because there is quite a few, and it's August 26th. The window shuts on September 1st for in the Premier League, but I think for certain other leagues, it shuts on August 31st. So, we need to get shit done and we need to get things moving and hopefully get things done reasonably soon. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you. If you're new here, please be sure to subscribe. If you're already here before, if you've been here before, if you're already subscribed, I can't talk already. I'm very tired today. I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, if you've been here before and you're already subscribed, number one, thank you. Number two, please smash the like button. And I go to all of you, please do smash the like button. It helps me spread these videos and these live streams out to more people. And that's how us YouTube content creators do grow. As you can see on screen, for the time being, we are joined by only one guest. I mean, it's Pi, so it's certainly not only. But we're only joined by one guest. Charlie will be joining us in a little bit. By in a little bit, I mean within the next 40 to 50 or whatever minutes. But myself and Pies have plenty of things to discuss. So Pies, thank you for being here as always, my man. There are a few things to discuss. Now, before getting into transfer rumors and stuff, I'll start off with asking, after last week, how do you feel ahead of tomorrow? Is it confidence because you're confident that we're going to bounce back from a bad defeat and a bad performance? Or is it more concern that we're going to, I don't know, end up in a downward spiral, which is just gonna be one bad result out of the other? What that bad result could entail tomorrow, that could be a 1-1 draw, is still a bad result. Not just, for us against most teams, a 1-1 draw is, just 1 point less bad than the 3-0 defeat, really. And what we want is 3 points, isn't it? But how are you feeling ahead of the game, bro?
I don't know, to be honest. A bit cautious. I think obviously Tuchel will not be on the touchline tomorrow, which is something we'll get into. But look, I mean, Leicester have been probably the worst team in the league so far this season. I know a couple of their fans that I speak to want Brendan Rodgers sacked, so hopefully it's not a case of us reviving another manager, then coming and beating us tomorrow. But look, I think I'm pretty confident. I think as well James Maddison might be out, which for me is their most creative player, so that's absolutely huge if he's not out.
And Fofana isn't playing.
If he is out, yeah, and Fofana obviously. So yeah, I mean, look, we've got everything really in place apart from Tuchel to be winning, and obviously maybe the midfield, Kante injured, Kovacic not ready to start yet, so it's going to be
suspended.
Yeah, Koulibaly, yeah, but I think with the back line, obviously I think we can make adjustments to it and still be pretty strong. Whereas midfield, I do worry a little bit. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think we should win. I don't think it will be the best of games, just simply because I don't think it ever really is when your manager's not on the touchline. To be honest with you, it might be a bit of a I don't know. Like I remember when Tuchel wasn't on the touchline for the Club World Cup games, and it did feel a bit strange. But I mean, he said the team are well prepared, and we just have to hope that is the case.
We do, absolutely. It's going to be an interesting one when we get to talking about the lineup, what we'd like to see, because like you say, Koulibaly being suspended, how are we going to replace that? Like, are we just going to play one real centre-back and two full-backs? It's going to be very, very interesting. But like I said, we will hold up with that a little bit, unless we run out of other things to talk about before Charlie gets here. But we will most certainly talk about it in a little bit. But I do want to start with the transfer news. And I feel like as it's just you and me, I think we can also take a little bit of time to do a bit of a, not back and forth because we necessarily disagree on all of it, but just, I don't know, have a bit of a debate about certain things in a little bit more depth than we often have time for, just because we usually need to, go through people's opinions and also topics to cover. But what's the latest situation on Wesley Fofana? I feel like yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, we had the reports first by Fabrizio and then also, basically an additional report by Ben Jacobs, talking about a bid of £75 million. Ben Jacobs then said it could be up to £77 million. New bid for Fofana, so far, at least as far as I'm aware, but I wasn't on my phone all day today. We haven't heard anything back on that yet. So what's the latest with that? And do you know whether Chelsea feel confident this is going to get accepted, or do we think we're going to have to go again next week?
I don't know. This one's really difficult. I do think it's going to get accepted over this weekend. I don't know what day it will be. I mean, I said to you yesterday, I was like, I'm actually going to lose my marbles if we bid for a fourth time and it gets rejected. Like, this has got to be the one, surely. I thought the third one was going to be the one, and it just wasn't. So I can't. I feel like this is going to be the take it or leave it, just simply because there's actually hardly any time for Leicester to get a replacement. And the thing that I'm more confident about now is we're hearing a little bit more about replacements on Leicester's end. So it seems like they're preparing for it. Whether or not it's 75 plus add-ons, I don't know. Whether it's 75 and I don't know, maybe it's 70 plus 5, or the structure with this is going to be really important. Obviously, they want 80 million plus, but at the end of the day, time running out, player is just absolutely desperate to join Chelsea. I mean, he's doing all sorts to try and join her. It's not like, he wants to join, but he's not really, that fast. He's literally missing training. He's training with the under-21s. His manager, Brendan Rodgers, is literally publicly criticising him now. So it's clear that I think Rodgers now wants him gone, and it's up to Leicester and Chelsea to do the deal. And I think it will get accepted this weekend. Just a bit disappointed we couldn't have him sort of for this weekend, but I did say on Twitter the other day, I did think it was quite unlikely that Leicester would sanction something for Fofana before we play them, because you know what we'd be like. We'd probably put him straight in the lineup, and Leicester would be like, well, don't want a player of that quality playing against us. So I do appreciate that in some senses.
Yeah, I said that last week. Well, it was basically straight after the Leeds game, and we was obviously, well, like you said, things usually happen on the weekend. So I was like, maybe something happens, but then we were post Leeds game on Sunday, and I was like, well, nothing's happened so far. At this point, I doubt we're going to have him before we play Leicester for exactly the reason you just mentioned, because they would be, if we're honest, they would be a little bit silly to sell one of their best players to the team they're going to play before they play that team. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you think about it, that would be a little bit silly. But that doesn't necessarily, so that's why I'm a little bit hopeful. Like, if you think about it, that all the reports the other day about that 70 million pound offer that we made, that was apparently rejected immediately, as Fabrizio and a few other reporters said. For this one, now we made the bid yesterday, and so far we haven't heard back on a response, or at least not publicly. So that makes me think the fact that they rejected the first one immediately makes me think they're going to accept this one. They just want to do it after they've played us. That's what I'm personally thinking. Could be completely wrong. That's only my own personal theory. I don't have any inside information on this. But yeah, do you see what I mean by that? Do you think that could potentially be the case? Because otherwise, why would they have rejected the other one immediately? And with this one, we're basically 24 hours past now, and we still haven't heard anything.
Yeah, I think it will be, as you said, over the weekend. I think it makes the most sense, just because then they've got what. I mean, to be fair, the annoying thing about this is, like, we don't know. Not many journalists even know when these bids are going in. It's very sort of, we're only really hearing whether it gets accepted or rejected. So I mean, it could have gone in last night, it could have gone in today, and we don't know about it. But they might not accept until the weekend, or the timing is going to be really important, as you said. Yeah.
I mean, you never know. Obviously, Bowley will probably be at the Stamford Bridge tomorrow. Maybe some of the Leicester higher-ups will be at Stamford Bridge tomorrow. You don't know. Maybe things will actually get agreed around the game tomorrow, whether that's before the game or after the game, whenever it may be. It may actually happen tomorrow, because they're like, well, we're going to see each other anyway, so we might as well discuss in person rather than like they usually probably do on the phone or Zoom or whatever they use. So that wouldn't be exactly surprising to me personally. But what other fronts do we have on the transfer options? Because other people say, I saw someone saying in chat, well, 75 should be the last bid. If they reject that, it's done. I'm like, no, it's August 26th. If they reject it, say Sunday, which would then be August 28th. No, we do not have time to look at someone else and say, oh, we're not going to, pay more. At this point, we need to just pay what's necessary. Like, we took way too long to get to this point. Like, we knew all along we need to replace two centre-backs. I know I'm repeating myself a little bit compared to previous streams, but like I say, we knew we needed to replace two centre-backs. There was even reports that we wanted three centre-backs for a while earlier in the summer. And now we're 5 days before the proper end of the transfer window, and we still have only signed one centre-back. It's too late now to say, oh, we're not paying more. If Leicester want more, we will need to pay more. Now, of course, you also have Leicester on the other side of this very discussion, who also have their own reasons for why they should hesitate, why they should accept. Do you know what I mean? Because number one, they are in financial difficulty. So if anything, they're being a little bit silly by rejecting more and more and more offers. But on the other hand, the later they accept an offer, the less time they have to find their own replacement. So, it's kind of, there's pros for both sides of the situation to be in. But I'm a Chelsea fan. I don't care about Leicester's situation. I care about our situation. And we need another centre-back. And we don't have time to look at other centre-backs to just get Fofana at this point. Would you agree, Pice? Okay, if I know you're a big fan of him, but if we were not willing to pay 80 million, okay, fair enough if you don't want to make him the world record defender. Do you know what I mean? I understand if they wouldn't have wanted to do that. Fair enough. But we knew that their asking price for weeks, months at this point, or at least over a month. If they weren't willing to pay it, they should have looked at a different centre-back from the get-go, unless they're having a little bit of an inkling that Koundé might not actually get registered by Barcelona and we could get him for free. Now,
he's already done that, unfortunately.
Have they registered him now?
It was done today, so I don't know what's going to happen with Aubameyang as well, because they wanted to sell Aubameyang to register Koundé, so that's another different story.
I'm not an expert on this Barca situation either, and I could be completely mistaken, but I was very much of the opinion that the whole problem with the registering of players is La Liga's salary cap, right? So what on earth would why were there some reports, they need a certain amount of money for Aubameyang? What effect does that have on the salary cap? Sure, his salary off the wage bill, that makes sense that will have an impact, of course. But what money we pay for him, how would that impact? How should that have ever impacted registering Koundé or any of the other players? I never understood. But, okay, fair enough. So the Koundé option is done as well. So then I'm even more clear on this. We just need to pay what's necessary for Fofana now, don't we?
100%. I mean, I don't know what centre-backs are linking in the background. Like, I'm sure, I think we've heard about Tapsoba, Maguire, maybe Adam Webster, but these guys are just, you can't for me, we would look like absolute mugs if we pulled out over like 5 million. Like, even if it's in add-ons to break 80 million, like, you've spent all this time and energy on this investment and time and all these bids and all the intermediaries working, days and weeks just to pull out right at the very end. That would just be the biggest L of the window for me. So yeah, I think we literally have to get Fofana. It's a non-debate. It has to happen. If it doesn't happen, it will be the biggest fools of the window, because at the end of the day, it will just look like a waste of.
And we're already kind of fools in this window. Now, we can rectify that in the last 5 days if we do things right from now on. But if things were to remain the way they are today, we're already the fools, because we lost out on Koundé. The whole world thinks we're clowns because Barcelona mugged us right off. Do you know what I mean? Like, we sold all of our attackers, but haven't gotten any replacements in yet. So it's like, well, of course, Sterling, but only one, but we sold way more. So it's like, we need to get things done. If we get the right things done, we had a good window. If we don't get it done, we've had an absolute mockery, really.
Yeah, I agree. I think, look, 3 signings for the first team, it looks like. Maybe 4 with Chukwuemeka, but, his involvement is questioning at the moment. They're 3 very good signings, but I want more. We need more. It's clear. And to get it down to the last sort of we got 5-6 days now. It's not good, but it can be good. There's still time, and that's what I'm hanging on hope for. Like, we can do a madness in the last few days, but hours ticking. Every minute's ticking now. It's getting to that point where you're getting a little bit nervous. So yeah, I'm at that point as well. I am a bit nervous as to what's going to happen.
For sure. I mean, Pice, think about it. You and me, we were talking plenty all over all through the summer. Back in June, we were saying if we don't have signings by the time we start pre-season, we're going to lose our shit. Now it's 5 days before the end of the window, and we still don't have enough signings.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with that for me is I was just expecting them just to come in and, like, I don't know, make an impact from the start. I know it's obviously a bit difficult, but the fact is, like, I think that most of the annoyance for me back then came because Tottenham were doing stuff, and I was like, well, they're not as ambitious as us. Like, come on, Bowley, show us something. Like, it would be nice if he could have some players for pre-season, but.
And then I think what it was is getting Sterling and Koulibaly done in such quick succession. Then in that 1 week, in those few days, got us all like hyped. Well, I'm still positive. I still think and hope that this new ownership can, in the end, be fruitful. Now, maybe not in the first 1 or 2 years because things take time to actually transition, but in the end. But as of like those 2 or 3 days, got me like, oh, look at this. Where Todd Bowley acting like Usain Bolt himself, getting everything done left, right, and centre. Do you know what I mean? But since then, we've not really gotten a lot done. Obviously, Cucurella, but that took long enough in itself anyway. And the next thing I will say before we talk about Aubameyang, because we have signed other players. We signed Chukwuemeka, we signed Casadei from Inter, we signed Hutchinson from Arsenal. Like, obviously, that is very much youth player rather than Chukwuemeka, who was in the first team for Villa. But still, we signed players. And we signed players for reasonably big money. Like Hutchinson cost about 20 million, including add-ons. Casadei, including add-ons, cost 50 million euros or whatever it was. I don't know exactly how much we paid for Hutchinson, but a reasonable amount of money. And we signed Slonina as well, who we loaned straight back to Chicago Fire. But the part with that, I don't understand. All of these players were not big, important, crucial players where they were, right? So these teams would have not necessarily needed replacements. Like Leicester needed a replacement for Fofana now. Villa did not, and didn't need to sign a necessarily replacement for Chukwuemeka. So why, the part I don't understand, why spend the time and effort to sign these, okay, maybe especially Hutchinson, that had a lot more to do with Neil Bath, potentially, also the Casadei one. But why spend time and effort on these signings that could be more easily done at the very end of the window instead of focusing on the really necessary first team signings first and then signing these youngsters? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't have a problem with signing these youngsters. If they turn out to be good, fantastic. Am I an expert on any of them? Even Chukwuemeka? No. So I won't sit here and say, oh, I think this is a bad signing or I think that is a bad signing. I don't know, right? I don't. So I'm okay with the signings in general, but I don't understand why they were done before we had our other shit done. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do agree. It seems like Todd Bowley, and he's wanting to do kind of everything at once almost, it seems. So he's trying to, he's clearly working with Neil Bath to get some youth team signings, but I think obviously he's classing them as signings that are going to be in our first team as well in the future. So he's probably classing them as first team signings, even though they're not coming in right away. Like, Slonina has already been reported he wants to be our long-term goalkeeper. Chukwuemeka is in our first team
by the way,
squad.
I'm just going to say this now. Slonina is never going to be Chelsea number one.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think so either.
He might be back up for a season or two, but otherwise we're just going to sell him for 25 million in 3 to 6 years' time.
Well, that's what I think half of the plan is as well, is like, trying to like maximize their investment, getting them to help, the first team, and then probably flipping them on for profit. That's probably what he's going to do.
You don't sign young goalies and actually play them. That doesn't happen. I guess we kind of did it with Courtois. We just found one of the best loans any player's ever had. The fact that we got a loan to Atletico Madrid and he was there for 3 seasons or whatever it was, which isn't even allowed anymore. Well, unless we do is 3 separate loan deals after each season. But loans like that are very rare. And that's why Courtois got so good at such a young age. And that's why we could then just throw him in and replace Cech, which, even though maybe was a year early, in the end was perfect, right? But the likelihood of that happening again, especially with how football has evolved since then, it's even less likely, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. It's up to him as well. I think he'll come back. I think he's coming back in January. Whether or not he'll come back on another loan or he'll stay, I'm not sure.
But elsewhere,
yeah, Kepa looks like he's going to stay now as well. So it's like,
but he should start tomorrow, really. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I mean, another thing as well I was going to come on to, like the press conference today. The lack of important questions asked is really doing my head in, because
I didn't even watch it, but after you said that, great.
I don't watch him anymore. But they asked 5 questions about Conte touchline last against the Spurs. It's like that game is 2 weeks ago.
One will do, boys. Like maximum 2.
Ask him about the front 3. Ask him about the midfield. Ask him about the goalkeeper. Ask him about so many other things apart from that. It just that annoys me.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Spliff giving it a big one, saying we have no idea what the new regime is going to do. That might well be true. Well, but what I do know is that goalkeeper is a position where experience plays a huge role. So the likelihood of us ever wanting to put Slonina in goal before he gets unhappy with not playing first team football regularly, I think that will happen first, and that's why he will be sold before ever becoming a starting goalkeeper. Simple explanation. Whether that is the old regime or the new regime, I don't think has anything to do with that personally. But yeah, I mean, you're entitled to your own opinion, Jimmy. But let's take it to another story of this transfer window. Let's talk about Aubameyang. What is that situation? Because now in England, no one said anything in days other than Nazar Kinsella, who waffles just about Harry Maguire, as does Sammy, to be fair. But he's then at least said we're not signing Harry Maguire after. But in Spain, they're constantly saying, yeah, it's happening. He's on his way. And then he went to Paris, but he's on his way. And, everything's happening and everything's agreed and whatever. But then Fabrizio says, well, nothing has been agreed because we still want to include Alonso and they don't want that. So what's the situation? You said yesterday when we were talking to each other, you were like, well, it's going to be interesting who budgets first, us or Barca. Or was that when we spoke about the Fofana deal? I cannot remember. But
both, to be fair. Both.
True. But still, the situation is, I think, personally, just again, my opinion, I think the reason we're so hung up on including Alonso in the deal is that we don't trust Barcelona to be, number one, able to sign, number two, able to register, and number three, want to sign Marcos Alonso, because if we're honest, why would anyone? And I think that concern that if they don't force him into this deal, the Barcelona won't buy him and we're going to be stuck with Alonso again. I think that's why we're pushing this. And I don't know if we're ever going to give up on it or not. What's your number one level of information so far, and then also your thoughts on everything, I guess?
Yeah, no, I think as Fabrizio said to me yesterday, this has been 10 days now. The last 10 days we've been on the same situation where a lot of the Spanish reporters, even reliable Spanish reporters, are saying, it's done. He's heading to London. He actually is in Paris right now. So I don't know whether he's waiting for the go ahead to go to London, but. Look, the negotiations are practically stuck at the moment. Chelsea don't want to pay 30 million euro, which I think is 25 million pounds. Absolutely, that's ridiculous in its own right. I mean, he's 33. Fair enough if he's 30 or something, but 33, like, come on, like that's a bit ridiculous. So, and Barca don't seem to be willing to accept our offers as well. Every time we go sort of 15 plus 5 or 15 plus Alonso, they don't want that. They want Alonso in a separate deal. Now, what I was thinking today was with them now registering Koundé. Now, again, I don't know why us paying Barca would have anything to do with them being able to or needing to register Koundé anyway. Because as you said, I think
especially because you said earlier they did register him now anyway. So
yeah, they did. I don't know how they have, or I don't know, but yeah, I was thinking, well, if they've registered him now, surely the next player they're going to want to register for a signing is Alonso. So will they now be more open to our cash plus Alonso offer now, the fact that they don't have to use our money to register Koundé? We could offer them, say, I don't know, 15 plus 5 or 15 plus Alonso, and then they get the money for Aubameyang, and they also then have Alonso and that money already to register Alonso. So I thought that makes much more sense now, but again, I don't know why in the first place they needed our money to register a player. Like, isn't that? I don't know. It's all
especially without hearing any reports of them activating another lever. So why could they register Koundé now but couldn't do it last week when nothing happened since then?
Exactly.
I mean, they didn't sell anyone, they didn't buy anyone, and publicly at least, they didn't use any more levers, sell any more rights to gain more money. So, but also again, why does that money again even affect the registration problem? Again, because I thought that was capped by the salary cap. So what does that have anything to do with selling rights and using levers? I don't even understand that part, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think it...
Maybe De Jong has taken a pay cut. I mean, it wasn't reported yet, but that would potentially be an explanation why they all of a sudden could register Koundé, I suppose.
Yeah, very true, maybe. Something I expect to happen anyway, I think. Just because of the fact he wants to stay there and his wife wants to stay there. So, yeah, but I think Aubameyang will still happen just because of the fact that I don't think they're going to turn down 15 mil or 20 mil for a player they got for free. I know Xavi likes him, but yeah, I mean, maybe even Chelsea end up going for
he's
like
not going
Dubai
to
or
start
something,
regularly anyway. for them.
The only other thing I was thinking, maybe Chelsea go for Depay eventually in the end, because he didn't go to Juventus, did he? So maybe they'll
I
switch
much
to
prefer
Depay.
that personally, but
Yeah, I don't know. I think we
I
will
don't
get
think he's
someone in up front.
better at scoring goals, but I think he would suit our system better personally. But then again, I want us to play a different system anyway, in which Aubameyang would be better. But I'm just not sure if we're ever going to play this different system or not. Because in a normal 4-3-3 that I would like to see us play regularly, if we had the proper players, I understand that. But even like if we signed Depay, he wouldn't be gone again by January, would he? So for then I wouldn't necessarily want him as a striker in a proper 4-3-3. But in what we do as a striker, different scenario where I might quite fancy, But like I say, Aubameyang with Lewandowski there, they have Ansu Fati, they have Ferran Torres, they have Dembele, they have whoever else, they have Rafinha. Where's Aubameyang going to play? Like, they're not going to play two up front. I've never seen Xavi do that, right? Maybe I'm wrong. But I've not seen that. I wouldn't expect it to happen anyway. So then he's going to be a backup anyway. So surely, like, Aubameyang should also push a little bit harder, I reckon. But again, I think as much as I'm not a big fan of Aubameyang, unless we all of a sudden go for Ronaldo, which could be probably done quite quickly just because he's so desperate to leave. Everything else, maybe Depay, just because it's the same club and it wouldn't really change that much anyway. But other than Depay and Ronaldo, we're out of options for the attacking positions as well. Like with Fofana. At this point, I know it's way too much money for a 33-year-old. I know it's way too much money for a 33-year-old that used to be Arsenal captain, has plenty of disciplinary problems. Now, having disciplinary problems as a captain is a more severe issue than it is if you're not captain. So, and he's obviously not going to be captain with us, so it's less of an issue. But still, it's an issue. It's too much money, I think, personally. But now it's too late again. But I think we need to just pay whatever is required. Like, we clearly can't do with what we have right now, or at least Thomas Tuchel doesn't want to. So get someone then. And you've wasted too much time on Aubameyang, all the same as you have for Koundé, as you have for Fofana, as you have for everyone, but the three we signed, really. So you just need to get it done. Or, Pies, do you think for Aubameyang, because of his age, there is a limit which you just would not go over, and then you'd rather have no one than Aubameyang?
I wouldn't go over like £20 million, and £20 million I would hope would be like 16 plus add-ons as well.
Now, I would hope all of that too, but if we don't get another one, I'd rather pay £23 million than not.
Yeah, I am a bit sort of wary of the fact that they may overpay, just because I think with Aubameyang, this is someone that's clearly, I mean, I know everyone we're signed is a Thomas Tuchel target, but this is a bit different. Like, this is someone he's obviously worked with and clearly really wants. So I feel like maybe even more than Fofana, this one will probably happen in sort of percentage sale, just because I think it is someone that Tuchel, has worked with and clearly desperately wants for one reason or another.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree. It's a tough one, honestly. It's a tough one. One thing we should talk about, even though no one is aware what exactly the plan is / would be for him. Now, you've tweeted a lot about him, so I'm not going to have every tweet up, but just going to get this one up where there's a picture, even if it's not the best picture, a picture of a new player that we've been linked with and apparently even sent a bid of, what was it, 15 million euros, please?
Yeah, so 12.5 million. It's actually his release clause for European clubs.
Okay. Fair enough. So he seems to be an Armenian-born but Russia-representing winger, is he? I'm pretty sure he's a winger.
He's an attacking midfielder or left winger. Yeah, to me, he's not really a winger. He's more like, I don't know. His play style is more like sort of De Bruyne. Like, he's not the quickest. He's like a Grealish sort of. Yeah, he looks really good. Really, really good. I like him.
I mean, I do like myself a fast player, but we had fast play in Timo Werner, and look how that went. So maybe technique. Well, but we also had technique over pace with Ziyech, and that didn't work either. So what works for us? Nothing.
Mate, the reason why people are so excited, someone
scored a screamer and everyone saw it now.
That as well, but like some of his passing in the compilation I saw was just. Like, our players don't even pick out some of the passes he was doing. No. Like, I swear to you, like, it's ridiculous. He's 19. I'm thinking, what? He's nuts.
100%. As you can see on screen, ladies and gentlemen, he has 26 goals and assists in 47 Russian league games. He has also featured for the first team of Russia. Now, you tweeted later, and I'm not going to get it up on screen now, just look through different tweets. But you tweeted later that for us to sign him, he would need to accept the Armenian, citizenship, because at the moment no one can/wants to sign Russians. Which now, with everything going on, to some extent I understand. At the same time, it's like, well, he has nothing to do with that. So why does he necessarily need to have a different citizenship? Do you know what I mean? Because it's not his fault what Putin is doing. So
yeah, I know he's not been the most reliable this summer, but Nazar did do an article on the difficulties of signing Russian/Ukraine-based players right now, and it's
they
actually
just wouldn't get visas, would they, from the UK? I think that would be the biggest.
It's also,
FIFA, I think.
Yeah, and also it's to do with actual sending money to a Russian.
True.
Club,
They're banned from all the thingy, aren't they?
Yeah,
but how would that be affected by him changing citizenship then?
I don't know. I read that we might have to send it through a Swiss bank or something. It does seem really confusing, to be fair. But
always get the Swiss banks involved.
Yeah, I think the whole changing his nationality came from a Russian-based source. So I don't know if it's 100% accurate, but I mean I don't know if it would make sense, but I just thought it was interesting considering all the Russian based sources that I was using last night obviously broke this news. So maybe it does have some reliability in it.
Well, I would find it quite funny. It's funny also on this picture, he's wearing a Dynamo Kiev shirt, isn't he? But he now plays in Russia, right? Or is that also a Russian club which has a similar logo?
Pretty sure that's...
Actually, I'm waffling. This is not Dynamo. Is it Dynamo Moscow?
It's Dynamo Moscow, yeah. That's the bunch, yeah.
Dynamo anyway, so close enough. To be fair, we're also playing Dynamo Zagreb in the Champions League, so Dynamo's everywhere.
There's so many of them. There's Zagreb, there's Moscow, there's Kiev, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, there you go. He's 19, isn't he? It says that. It doesn't say it on this page. He's 19, isn't he?
Yeah, he's 19.
There you go. My least favorite thing about him is his first name, because it's just 2 letters of Arsenal. But otherwise, I don't mind. Do you know what I mean? Because I would much rather sign him. And now, what no one's sure about is whether he's supposed to be in the first team if we do sign him, or whether he's not. Because now I would be like, is he really going to be that much worse than Anthony Gordon? I reckon not. So why don't you just sign him? Even though I've never seen him in my life, I reckon he can't be that much worse than Anthony Gordon. So I reckon just sign him instead of Anthony Gordon. Save yourself a whole 40 million pounds, even though Frank Lampard has said we haven't bid 60 million pounds. So we'll get to that next.
By the way, he also said, I tweeted that while we were on stream, Lampard said Gordon's worth at least 100 million. So hopefully that doesn't happen.
Watch out, deadline day. Chelsea buy Anthony Gordon for 101 million pounds.
I'd honestly, I think I'd actually collapse. I'd collapse,
mate. I better start digging my own grave now because I've got to be ready for deadline day. Do you know what I mean?
You know, I don't know if you know this as well, but Todd Bowley's Twitter account, he's not ever active, right? But he followed Fabrizio.
He had a Twitter account. I can't lie.
He does, and he does, and he never tweets on there. But he followed Fabrizio Romano recently because I saw his following count go up, and I was thinking, yeah, this guy's watching his deadline day stream and putting in a random bid for someone for 80 million pound.
Hey, watch him next. Follow You're Expert, because You're Expert, I swear. Didn't he do a video a year ago about this very Donny?
Yeah, I replied Alex, oh my god,
Sakarian.
I replied Alex with exclamation marks. This guy's knowledge on these kids are just, even some of the stuff he was saying yesterday. You asked who's their coach, and I was like, what? It's mad. But yeah,
who's the Ajax coach? And he's like, well, this Donny.
Yeah, fair play.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like Andy said, if he was English, maybe it would be 50 million pounds. I also reckon the whole difficulty of signing Russian players, even though it's his release clause anyway, if you find the talent there, as much as it's difficult to sign them, if you find them and manage to sign them, I think that's probably the only place you're going to get good deals from nowadays, right? Well, Arsenal managed with Gabriel Jesus somehow, but no one else seems to be able to. I guess City with Haaland, but again, that was a release clause. So, when you compare it to the Anthony Gordon, even a Aubameyang price, maybe that's where you need to start looking for players. I don't know. Russians haven't been particularly good at football in a hot minute. I mean, they obviously had Ashavin and they had Pavlyuchenko, But Asharin was like good for a season. Pavlyuchenko was good for €1. That's it. And otherwise, the last good one was probably Shirkov himself, who played for Chelsea. I mean, there's probably some good other Russian players. Don't let me be too, judgmental and harsh. But what's the kid's name that used to play for Real Madrid and now is at Valencia? Cheryshev, I think, the guy that had a good last World Cup. But who knows how much doping was involved in that one. But yeah, one last thing. Like I said earlier, he has already played for the first team of Russia. Even though Russia isn't that great at football, and at the moment they're not allowed to play football anyway, I feel like if you've played for, even if I know Russia isn't the greatest, they're still not like a shit team in football. They still regularly make the World Cup and stuff. Oh, Golovin is a decent player, to be fair. I forgot about him. Fair play, Alpan.
We nearly signed him a few years ago.
Yeah,
as well.
we did. And in the
That
end,
kid, honestly, he was a
had
baller,
a dead career at
like,
Monaco, but I think he had a bad injury, didn't he?
Yeah, 2018, bro. That kid was unreal. Golovin.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. But yeah, so what I was trying to say is because he's played for the first team, I think it makes it more likely that for the Russian first team, I think it makes it more likely that we'd also use him for our first team. But I'm not sure if that would be in a way like Chukwuemeka, who tonight, we'll talk more about that in a minute, but who tonight will just play in under 21s against Man City, I think. So maybe that's the reason, because it's Man City. But I feel like with Kante still injured, Kovacic only available for 20 minutes. We'll talk about that again in a few minutes. Surely someone like Chukwuemeka should be in this first team squad, right? But so I don't know if the plan with Zakarian is how I'm going to pronounce it for now until I'm told different. Is that the same plan? I don't know. I feel like I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting.
We had Hudson-Odoi in the squad when he was 19. So.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting. I mean, Nazar said it's a Nil Bath recruited player, which means it may be for the academy. But then I was thinking, like, I know the Russian league ain't the greatest, but 52 professional games, I think it is overall. Including
compare that to Kasaray, who's not played one.
Yeah, like 52. Like, that's a lot of games at 19 for professional. Like, that doesn't scream. I know Chelsea academy in England is harder in general. That doesn't scream academy level to me.
Especially when our academy team nearly got relegated last season, so they're not exactly amazing at the moment anyway.
I'll tell you what, I reckon he'll probably go on loan, to be fair. Whether or not he stays there or goes out somewhere else, I don't think... I think maybe our level for the first team is...
Maybe that makes it possible to sign him, because maybe with this whole citizenship problem, maybe we need to just sign him and loan him to somewhere in Russia or I don't know.
Like maybe he's too raw for our first team, but maybe too good for our academy, which then means he probably goes out on loan. Maybe that's the balance they'll look at. Not sure.
While that makes sense what you're saying, that doesn't stop us from signing Anthony Gordon. So that's why I hope he's good enough for our first team.
I think when I tweeted this out last night, everyone was like, "Oh, is this Gordon alternative? Like, please." It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. I was like, I don't know. Don't shoot me yet.
It is funny. It is funny to be fair. Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, we have over 200 people watching, which I very much appreciate, especially in previews, which are a little bit up and down. Sometimes we have great views, sometimes we have not so great views. So I appreciate you all being here. If you're new here, please be sure to subscribe. We've just passed 15,000 subscribers, which is fantastic news. But that means we're on the way to 20,000 subscribers. So please get subscribed. Every new subscriber does count, and I do notice all of you. I do check my subscriber count. So please do subscribe. Smash the like button as well. And what other last transfer rumors haven't we discussed yet? I feel like there's a couple. Anthony Gordon. I mean, we just hinted on it with what you said, what Frank Lampard said. But before talking about that he might be worth over 100 million, what do we make of him saying that we haven't bid 60 million? Like, do we think that's just manager waffling in a press conference? Because, of course, you can never take that word for it. Or do you think it's a journalist waffling and we've not actually bid that?
I think we have bid that.
Can't know either, I understand.
Yeah, I think we have bid that, and they've probably even not responded or turned it down. I mean, Lampard said he's worth triple figures, 100 million at least. So I don't know whether he's smoking something or he's like.
Lampard also wanted to buy Tarkowski for 50 million when he was Chelsea manager. So what does he know?
100 million, like, I don't know. This is why I'm just confused. Like, why in the first place did we bid for him? Second of all, like, why is...
If they apparently think he's worth 100 million, why did we even start at a 50 million bid?
And also...
I'm not joking. If they think he's worth that, as much as he's not, he's always... A player is worth as much as their current club values them. because they make the decision what a player is sold for. So if they think value him that highly, surely we've had a chat with them before we decided to put the first bid in.
Yeah, I mean, and actually, like, if this is true, they've rejected or just ignored the bid, or, you know, say it doesn't happen, where do we go from there then? Like, we still then have £60 million available to do something. Like, oh, God knows what's going to happen. Like, do we then just
And
not
£60
go
million
for a winger
only
and
in
go
5
for it?
days, though. So can we, like, who's a backup
Yeah,
option? Like, if
I
it's
don't
not
know.
this Russian Donny,
Zaha, maybe? I don't know. He's
yeah,
injured
but
at
he's
the
not.
moment.
See, Zaha instead of Aubameyang would make sense. But is Zaha really a winger? Like, he's kind of a winger, but is he really a winger, especially for our system, when he's more on the left where we have Sterling and Pulisic? I feel like Zaha would
Yeah,
only make sense instead of Aubameyang rather than instead of Gordon, personally.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, true. I don't know. It's very hard at the moment. There's just not a lot of, like, I know the club definitely have backup alternatives, obviously, but it's just that there's not a lot getting leaked. I don't think we're going to go for Liao. I think that would just be madness.
I mean, it would be madness, but at least it would
Yeah,
be madness for an actually good player, not madness for Anthony Gordon.
yeah, true. I just think with 5 days left, like, there's literally no time really to do
Yeah,
anything because
unless we just activate the release clause of what is it, 100 million euros or over that,
150 million euros, I
or
think.
50 or 15.
50, so it's like 125 mil.
That's mental money. But at the same time, is it more mental than 60 million for Anthony Gordon? I would argue not.
25 mil.
So,
Imagine we did that.
You know what I was going to say about what Frank Lampard said in terms of the offer? I think the reason he said we haven't bid 60 million is because why is there a helicopter being so loud? I'm not sure if you can hear it, guys, but you probably can. But what he probably is talking about is the fact that it was 60 million, including add-ons, while for the selling club, the add-ons part is always like, well, we've sold him for 50 and maybe we'll get another 10, but who knows if we do. So maybe that's what he meant. I would kind of assume it's that. But again, I just need us to not sign Anthony Gordon. Excuse me, especially if Everton don't want to sell him. And don't want to sell him for anything less than apparently £100 million. So if that's the case, okay, leave that. But who's the other option? Now, Rafael, sure. Zaha, sure. This Russian guy, sure. But like that, none of them are bad. But any of them better? Like, okay, some of them are better than Hudson-Odoi. But in terms of the position and yeah, I don't know. Also, hasn't the Ziyech deal doesn't that look like it might have collapsed? Or
Yeah, I mean, I've just seen some
Anthony stuff out.
I've just seen some info on this actually. So Mike, for I can't say this guy's name, but for why I think he's like the biggest Ajax journalist anyway. So Ajax just rejected in like the last half hour I've been on stream a €90 million bid for Manchester United for Anthony. And he's saying a big reason why they rejected it is because Chelsea are overpricing Ziyech and they only want Ziyech as Anthony's replacement. So
basically, see, but if Anthony would end up being a bad signing, maybe there's a bad move because we kind of want to get rid of Ziyech, even though it's a debatable statement whether we should. Now, I know you're not a big fan of Hakim Ziyech, and I'm not his biggest fan either. I think his attitude is sometimes a bit of a problem. See, the weird thing is he works hard, but still has an attitude problem, which kind of contradicts itself. But I think if we just play the right system, and Ziyech can be a class player that's super useful. Like, even when he came on against Leeds, now we were 3-0 down and it was dead, but he did more in that cameo appearance than all of the other attackers did combined for the entirety of the rest of the game. Now, was anything of it particularly successful? No, it wasn't. But he still did more than all of the other ones. So I'm not trying to say Ziyech is amazing. Like RD says, he can't beat players one-on-one because he doesn't have the acceleration pace. That's why he struggles with that part. But his energy in terms of running around is crazy. His shooting is very good. Even if some go off target every now and again, I'd rather you try sometimes, put it wide, put it over, whatever. But every now and again, you score a screamer like against Spurs, and we have a threat of a long shot, goal in our, what is it, catalogue? What I'm trying to look for? I mean, I guess Mount sometimes could, maybe Gallagher could. I saw a finishing clip of him today, and I was like, bloody hell, that kid rifles that ball. Fair play. And he, he's not very good at it as a 6, but if we should just let him shoot, maybe we should just let him shoot because it seems to be okay with that one. But yeah, like if we played the right system, Ziyech would be okay. So I'd like personally, I'd much rather keep Ziyech, change the system, than buy Anthony Gordon. Like it would make way more sense. But I do find it hilarious that we asked more money from Ajax for Ziyech now than what we signed him for. Now I understand inflation. Even the UK finally got wind of it with the increase of the electricity or the whatever the bills are. And inflation is obviously a big deal, and not just in terms of electricity and gas and oils and whatever. In everything there's inflation, so maybe that's a part. But Ziyech is now nearly 30. Had 2 really bad seasons essentially, where he was consistently more injured. Well, not more injured, or out of the team. How did we ask more money than what we signed him for? It's weird, isn't it?
It's insane. We were supposedly asking for £37 million.
Yeah, and we signed him for 32. I'm pretty sure, didn't we?
Something like that. Yeah, I think it was like 34. Yeah.
Well, less anyway. Even if it's just a little bit less, the fact just that.
Why they're doing that though is because obviously
hilarious. Sounds like Mourinho is still in charge with that demand.
You know why they're doing that though is because obviously Bowley were like, oh, they've just got, or they're going to get 90 million or 80 million. Let's try and rip them off. Well. But yeah, I mean, it's clubs aren't dumb, unfortunately, Todd.
Well, Man United are. They offered
apart from
Anthony, and we are.
Hopefully, you know what?
For Anthony Gordon.
hopefully they'll offer 60 million for Pulisic instead. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but if that happened, we would probably pay 100 million for Anthony Gordon, and I'd much rather just keep Pulisic than buy Anthony Gordon. I know I keep saying this, and I would also say, let me say this publicly as well, just in case sometimes people aren't aware with how harsh I am against Anthony Gordon. Do I think Anthony Gordon is as bad as I'm sometimes making him out to be by how I rage at the fact that we're linked with him? No, I don't think he's that bad as I might sound. But that's not the point. I think he's just not quite good enough for Chelsea right now anyway. And I think it's just stupendous money for someone where there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee for any attackers to work at Chelsea. So why would you sign a 21-year-old for 60 million that if he doesn't work, we won't even be able to sell for 20? It just seems like way too risky of a business. While Aubameyang, as much as I'm not a fan of it in general, at least there's not much risk attached to that. Like if he doesn't work, all right. Do you know what I mean? He'll be gone in 2 years and it's fine. But with Gordon, it'd be another Drinkwater, Bakayoko, Zappacosta, Emerson. We can't get rid of 4 years if he doesn't work. Now, of course, if we sign him when he works, amazing, brilliant. Then I'll just look like a clown and I'll happily look like a clown if he's playing great for us. Now, he is below average, for sure. But that still means he's half decent, But yeah, it's a tough one. Is there anything else that we need to talk about? Ziyech one, Callum's one. I mean, it looked like he was basically on the verge of signing Leverkusen, but that's not 2-3 days ago, and nothing new has happened.
Yeah, very interesting. Just literally come out 1 minute ago. Sky Germany, a transfer between Chelsea and RB Leipzig is now very hot between for Trevor Chalobah. So that's quite interesting.
RB Leipzig.
RB Leipzig, yeah, Chalobah.
Okay, so that better mean we have Fofana done, and Leicester and Chelsea have just agreed we'll announce it on Sunday after we've played each other. Because if we agree to anything for Chalobah before we sign up Fofana, I mean, personally, let's actually talk about that. And I tweeted about this and I retweeted it again. I can't remember if this morning or yesterday. But I'm so not a fan of letting Chalobah go. Like, why? Like, it feels so harsh. He had a good loan in France. He comes back last year. He plays very good for your first Premier League season as a centre-back, because the centre-backs tend to need a bit more experience to be really good than midfielders and especially attackers do. So to be 22 and have the first Premier League season he had, even though he had some games where he struggled, but which 22-year-old defender doesn't? Okay, you're going to say Fofana, but Fofana, I'm sure, will have games where he struggles a little bit. But to give him that first season and then to end up loaning him out again just seems, number one, not fair to him. And number two, just a stupid decision personally. And we had a loan to Leipzig with Ampadu. And look how that went. Why are we even considering loaning another player to them, like Mitch has said here? It's a fair point.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, maybe I'm thinking too deeply, but maybe it's something to do with N'Kunku next summer, or I don't know, Gvardiol in the future. Maybe now, I don't know. But
Do we even want
yeah,
Gvardiol now that we have Kukurea and Koulibaly?
probably not. But anything's possible, I guess. Probably more to do with N'Kunku. To be fair, I think usually you see loan moves are. Or certain loan moves are, something for the future, perhaps. Because I mean, AC Milan AC Milan have been really like hot on it, and now all of a sudden Leipzig is really hot. So I don't know, building relationships, perhaps. I'm not sure.
See, I wouldn't be surprised if this if the AC Milan fell through because Chalobah doesn't fancy. Because would he realistically start for them? I feel like probably not. So then at that point, why go there? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Like, even if we switch to a back four, I think we need to keep Chalobah, because in a back four, Kukurea and Aspi are not centre-back options. So that would mean, say we sign Fofana, Koulibaly, Thiago Silva, who turns 38 in September, and no one without Chalobah. So without Chalobah, even with Fofana, we only have 3 actual centre-backs. So that means back four is completely out the window.
We ain't got a great depth.
In the back 3, Kukurea is an option, Reece James is an option, Aspi is an option, but none of these 3 are options in a back four. So
yeah, we'll probably see 4 a little bit, but probably for me more maybe in game and starting the 3. I think as you said, our depth isn't great for a 4. It's more better for a 3, which obviously is the formation he does play. So I guess it makes sense. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of letting Chalobah go, just because I knew this was going to happen though. If Aspi went to leave to Barca, Chalobah would have stayed 100%. But
to Leeds, was he linked with Leeds?
No, Barca. I said Barca, I think.
I thought you said Leeds or Barca. I was so confused.
I hope I said Barca.
You definitely said Barca, but I thought you said Leeds and Barca or Barca or whatever it was.
So.
Maybe not. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, Chalobah would have stayed if Aspi went. So
for sure.
That's annoying, isn't it?
Yeah, find it very annoying. Charlie's not here yet. I hope he will be here soon. But I think we've kind of run out of transfer stuff to talk about. So it's probably about time we talk about tomorrow's game, which is between Chelsea and Leicester. We return to the Bridge. We didn't win at the Bridge yet, even if it was Anthony Taylor's fault. So we, number one, need to change that tomorrow. But a few things. N'Golo Kante is still out injured, and he will be out injured for a month or more, which is just great news. Brilliant, beautiful. And our manager thinks we don't need a midfielder, which is also just great, brilliant, fantastic. But Mateo Kovacic, that's something, is back in training. He returned to training when we had the open training session on Wednesday. But according to Thomas Tuchel, it's only available for 20 minutes, which, why? So he was injured in preseason, played 45 minutes in the first preseason game anyway. But now he's only available for 20 minutes. How? I don't understand. But also, Armando Broja is back in training. He only joined training on Thursday, so yesterday rather than on Wednesday like Kovacic. But obviously his injury was shorter. So maybe he's closer to still being fit in terms of fitness anyway. But also, let's not forget, Koulibaly is suspended. And as we touched on at the very beginning of the stream, or was it when we were off air? I cannot remember. Thomas Tuchel, as you can see in the title and thumbnail, has been touchline banned against Leicester. Now, my personal theory is that this is purely because of his words against Anthony Taylor and because the whole decision came after. So even if they pretend it's something to do with that, my opinion is that it's purely to do with that because they don't like it. Because otherwise, even though Tuchel instigated the handshake problem by not letting go of Conte's hand, the whole other problem was instigated by them equally as much. Like Tuchel had his, was a shit house and Conte was a shit house. And in the end, all of it is to be blamed on Anthony Taylor. Neither of it is blamed to be blamed on either manager. But Antonio Conte did not get a touchline ban. Thomas Tuchel had a suspended touchline ban for Leeds, so was there. And now is suspended from the touchline, but for some reason is allowed to be with the team before the game and at halftime. So it's like a wannabe ban. Like it's a proper touchline ban, I guess, but not one that Jose had when he had to sneak in with the laundry basket. But yeah, we're missing Thomas Tuchel tomorrow, judging by his actions against Leeds, with him just sat there on the bench with crossed arms. We're not missing much. But if obviously we had a better day and he wouldn't act like that, we're missing a lot. So it's not ideal. But I don't know, maybe the team and the players will feel that Tuchel has been harshly done by, and that's why they will try harder. I'm clutching at straws here now. But your thoughts on, number one, the touchline ban as a whole, and then also what effect, if any, it will have on us?
I think it's stupid because if you're going to give a touchline ban to Tuchel, give one to Conte. They're both at fault with each other. Conte, for one of the goals, that she screamed in Tuchel's face, which I think is actually what started it, wasn't it? I think that's actually what started the whole thing, which is what Tuchel said today. He said that he wasn't the one who started it. So, yeah, I mean, whatever, is what it is. The FA hate Chelsea. They'll do anything to punish this club. So, yeah, I mean, they're saying, in their written reasons, I think that he instigated it, and that, I think Tuchel said that, Conte should have made eye contact, and they were saying, well, eye contact isn't a necessity and stuff.
You can't give Conte a touchline ban for not doing eye contact on Anze. That would be even more crazy, I will say.
Yeah, I don't know, because he's also got fined 35,000 plus another 1,700 for something. So maybe one of them's for comments, one of them's for.
I mean, I don't care about neither Tuchel nor us nor anyone cares about the money, right? Like, you earns plenty to pay that comfortably without bothering him at all. But yeah, the touchline ban is just annoying. But the other bits of press conference information, Kante, Kovacic, Broja, would you make of those situations?
I'd love Broja to start, especially because Havertz annoyed me with his interview he did earlier. He said, it's not all about goals and assists for me. I like to do other things. What do you do? That's the other things that are not goals and assists. Like, don't start me off, Havertz. But yeah, no, I'd like to see Broja start. But I know Havertz will play, and hopefully he plays better, because he bloody needs to. At least he said he didn't play well against Leeds, so at least he realizes he's not playing well. But again, this goes back to my point the other day. They know they're going to keep their starting place, which is a problem. So, yeah, and the press conference, Kante out for a month. I mean, what? Like, how are you not signing midfielder? Like, I do not physically understand anymore. And yeah, Kovacic 20 minutes. I mean, this is going to be his first game back, so yeah, you got to build him up. It's just, I was hoping he could play more than that, to be fair, but it's going to be a difficult game. At least we're not playing a side that's on form, because it'd be even worse with the midfield we're probably going to have.
Yeah, it absolutely will. It absolutely will. Now, before we get to the lineup screen, I do quickly want to. I mean, I would have loved for Charlie to be here. Now, you know what? I'll wait with it and see if Charlie gets here, so we can involve him in this discussion. I will be here in 5 minutes, to be fair. So I might as well just get it up now. We start talking about it now, and then we can just include Charlie's opinion after that. Now, even though it looks like I'm now taking a piece out of you, Pies, not next directly my attention, but you literally said, what is he even good at? But this stat came out the other day by Opta-Joe. Now, I'm not trying to say this is the be-all and end-all on everything. I just want to have a debate about the stat. As you can read at the bottom, you don't necessarily need to see the runs. It's less irrelevant. You can just laugh at my hilariousness. Kai Havertz has made the most off-the-ball runs of any player in the Premier League this season with 114, as well as the most off-the-ball runs into the penalty area with 37. You can see 114 for him. Next best is 103, Luis Diaz, Haaland, Anthony Gordon. Yeah, and then Raheem Sterling, second in the Chelsea list, but 21 runs less. Now, what I wrote is I already saw Twitter compilations of Sterling's runs not being found. We saw plenty of Werner runs not being found. We saw Lukaku runs not being found, be talked about by the Twitter fan base. I've never seen anyone talking about how Havertz, his runs aren't found. A mate of mine was at the Spurs game. I know you were as well, Pies, but a mate of mine was at the Spurs game, and he told me there was about 5 times if we just played an over-the-top through ball, Havertz would have been free on goal. But no one talks about that. They only talk about Sterling runs and Werner runs and Lukaku runs. And do you know what I mean? And that's the part I don't understand. Now, am I trying to say Havertz has been good? No, that's not what I'm trying to say. And I also have to disagree with you on it, Pies. To say what is he even good at, in my opinion, is number one, a bit disrespectful. Because No, just because it's like
No, I'm just
what are you
having fun
good at?
with
Like,
it. to be
even
fair.
I say Alonso is good at a couple of things.
No, I'm just having fun with it. It's just it annoyed me the
I get,
last
I
couple
get,
of games
I
where
get you,
like
I get you.
you know
But I
like
feel
you know
like
like
you saw him in
in
that
the
interview
past.
where he spoke about it's not all about assists and goals. You
Yeah,
saw he even spoke about he, obviously gets wind of the criticism. Where I'm like, let's criticize him when he deserves to be criticized, 100%. But let's then make sure that the criticism is valid and doesn't go to a point where it becomes silly. Because then neither the other part of the fan base is going to take it seriously, or the players are going to take it seriously. If it becomes too crazy, no one's going to pay attention. They're just going to all ignore it, and nothing's going to come from it. But yeah, I think movement is most certainly a thing that Kai Havertz is very good at, and it's not just Sterling or Werner or Lukaku whose runs aren't found. As you can see, he runs more than a lot of them. Now, of course, Lukaku and Werner aren't here anymore, so he can't show up on these stats. But still, those runs need to be found, and those runs need to be found by Raheem Sterling to some extent too, by Mason Mount, by our wing backs, mind you. They need to do more of that. Like Reece James isn't, and Correa to some extent too, but obviously he's only been here for like 2 games. But Reece James needs to also start looking for those passes more. Reece James is amazing. He's my favorite player. But like Jorginho as well, and whoever else plays in midfield even more so because they're the more offensive ones. Those players also need to get criticised, not just Kai Havertz and Mason Mount, because everyone just seems to blame Kai Havertz and Mason Mount for us not having any creativity. And they say Reece James is the only one that provides. I'm like, well, yes, he kind of is. But at the same time, he's also the best player, almost, like, kind of. So I'm like, number one, is that expected? No one had to go at Hazard when, like, no one had to go at Hazard, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's still, like, all of these guys need to do more, not just Havertz and Mount. And that's the part I found a bit rude recently.
Well, I don't remember these runs though. That's the problem. It's all good showing stats.
Which is fair. Which is fair.
He made a good run against Leeds where Gallagher overhit the pass and it went through to the goalkeeper. But for the Spurs game, I certainly don't remember it, like what your mate or someone who that was saying. Like, I don't remember that at all. Maybe I just need to focus more, but I feel like I'm pretty honest, especially because I have a go at the final ball all the time. So if I see a run or someone making a run,
I don't think you're doing it on purpose either. Like,
I don't get that. I don't get those stats. I mean, obviously they're stats, they're true. They log them. But I don't know. Like the thing that why I'm saying recently is like, what is he good at? It's because I thought, I'm not going to say the old Havertz because he's still young, but like sort of like a year ago, like initially when actually Tuchel came in and we was in that mainly Champions League run, but even in the Premier League as well, like he just looked like such a like all-round player. Like he would go from left to right. Like he'd just do everything. I thought he was the center of everything. He was the center of our pressing. He always dropped deep and played the ball. He always got into good positions. I just thought he just did more. And recently, like this season, I've just felt like he's being more
deployed as more of a real striker than a false
yeah, that's the problem. I don't like that. But at the same time, I don't want to blame it on instructions because there is games like Spurs where he did go out wide, and I'm thinking, so you are moving, but you're just not coming deep centrally. You're staying like as a striker. Like I want you to.
But that's also
like,
partly because we kind
annoying.
of play like a 10 behind 2 strikers at the moment, which obviously, if there's a 10 behind a striker, then the striker doesn't drop deep because
he's just doing like, I think for me, like the frustration, like, like when we have the ball in midfield and, everyone always moans because we pass it wide. It's because none of those front three, especially the middle guy, comes and looks for the ball, which then actually drags a defender out and then changes the shape up. You know what I mean? It's little movements you need to do, and I just feel like he's been so static lately.
If you look at the runs, some of these are short arrows, which would suggest little movements. To be fair, now I want to highlight a comment here. Who's obviously having a go at me? Once again, stats that miss context. How about the timing of these runs? Are these runs actually evasive of the opposition into good scoring spaces? Stats like these are useless. Now, see. Tell me you don't understand football without telling me you don't understand football. The fact that you spoke about, are these runs actually evasive of the opposition into a good scoring space? The stat didn't say that all of these runs were into scoring space. If you think all Havertz has to do is run into areas to score, then why aren't we signing Didier Drogba even at the age of 40, whatever he is? Because if that's all he needs to do, then Lukaku would have been good, quite frankly, because he genuinely didn't move other than on the counter. And I'm not trying to, again, please, ladies and gentlemen, listen to me. I'm not trying to say Havertz is good or hasn't been bad. I'm trying to say no one uses the excuse that you just wrote up there, Supreme. No one uses that question for Werner, for Sterling, for Lukaku. No, these players don't get questions for timings of their runs. They was just like, oh, why are we never finding them? But for Havertz, it's, oh, what about the timing? Why does only Havertz get that question? That's the part where it, for me, comes in where I'm like, to me, it just feels like the Chelsea fan base have now, okay, Lukaku's gone, we're still not scoring, so now we're going to blame the guy that plays instead of him. That's what it feels like this fan base is doing at the moment. Now, is all of it unjust? No, of course it is. Of course it is. And he deserves a lot of criticism. But people just take it too far, in my opinion, to say he's not good at anything. I'm like, well, but that's not true. Like, he runs the most out of any player in the whole Premier League. And he's saying he's the worst. What? No, it makes no sense. Does that mean he's overall good enough? No, of course it doesn't. But that means it's not just his fault that his problems are occurring. Is it partly his fault? 1,000,000%. But is all of it his fault? No. But is anybody else getting the blame for Havertz's struggles? No. And that's the part I don't understand. I find it strange. I personally just find it strange. Charlie, thank you very, very much for coming on. I appreciate it very much. We spend a lot of time talking about transfer rumors, about Aubameyang and Fofana and this Russian guy and, you know, Ziyech smooth stalling and us laughing at Man United and, you know, all sorts of things. We had a great time. Laughing at Frank Lampard, thinking Anthony Gordon's worth £100 million, which he said in the press conference, which, that's funny. But now, as we were about to move into talking about the lineup, we were just talking about the press conference information. And now I wanted to bring up this stat from a few days ago. And I know you've been very critical of Kai Havertz over the last few days. So I'd like to get your thoughts involved in it as well. And again, I think you heard some of it, but I think you might not have heard all of it. So what I'm saying is, of course, he's not the greatest player. And of course, he's playing badly. But these runs still exist. Why? And I said this to Pies a minute ago. I've seen compilations of Sterling runs not being found. I've seen compilations now, even though Werner's already gone, of Werner runs last season not being found. But why are these guys getting those excuses, but Havertz isn't? That's the part I don't understand.
I don't know. I think people just expect more, really. You know, paid, £70 million probably end up being more than that for someone that's men who have come in and should have done a lot more than what he's given us. You know, it's his third season now, and have we really had value for money? I mean, look, he makes off the ball runs, okay, fine, but I mean, I don't know if it's telling from teammates, etc. And we've had it. Do they actually trust him? Are they not playing him in because they don't trust him to actually do anything with it once he's played in? I don't know. You could have that same conversation. Was there full trust in Timo Werner to play him in? Would he actually do anything? Would actually playing in Lukaku, would he have done anything? Like, I don't want to say that players like genuinely aren't picking out Kai Havertz because they don't actually trust him to put the ball in the net. But maybe that's part of it. Because I don't know what other reasons there would be as to why
I think that's
players aren't picking stuff out.
Because not every run is there to end up with Havertz being the guy that scores the goal. So this, like, while I see what you're saying, if the finishing runs problem, maybe they sometimes don't pick him out because his finishing.
But obviously, runs pulling defenders away, like to open space. So, like, if you make a run, I don't know, if a pass is on century, but Havertz runs, like, makes a run to the left or something to drag a defender out, and then there's space to bring it in. Like, off the ball runs are important to create space and whatnot. But I don't know. I think part of the criticism probably just people just expect more for someone that was meant to be was billed as some like the next big thing out of Europe, and like he's into his third season now at Chelsea, and quite frankly, hasn't really done anything. He hasn't. That is true, and I'm not trying to even debate that. And I'm also now everyone is, I think, at the moment aware that for what we paid, we didn't get that good of a player as we might have hoped so far. But there is a difference between someone not being as good as he should have been for the money we paid and someone being shit. That's not necessarily, that doesn't necessarily, equal each other. So, and that's what I think people are doing at the moment. They're just acting as if Havertz does absolutely nothing good. And that's why I think... No, but he does have good elements in his game. He's got,
I don't think is reasonable.
No, he's got good elements in his game for sure. Like we have seen him. He can be a physical presence. He is good in the air. You know, as you say, as this shows, he does make intelligent runs, whether it's to be played in or whether it's to make space. But I don't know. I'm not sure if it's. I don't know if it's a lack of confidence. Does Tuchel actually have confidence in him as a player? I know he keeps picking him, but there's not really anyone else. I know he could play Broja, but Broja's been injured, hit and miss. Does he really fancy Broja? I don't really know. I actually think for Havertz, it could be Aubameyang coming in could actually be beneficial because at the moment, Havertz is pretty much, there's no competition for his place. Like he knows that pretty much he's going to play, he's going to start every week, regardless of how shit he is. And I don't think that's a great place to be in as a footballer because there's no, like apart from your own motivation, where's your motivation to actually play well? Because we've got a problem in the forward line where half of the players don't want to be here. And then you've got a situation where there's certain players in the team, i.e. Mount, Havertz, etc., probably a couple of others, where it doesn't matter how badly they play, they know that they're on the team sheet every week. And that shouldn't be the case. We should be in a position where have a good enough squad of players that if someone doesn't play well, next week they're on the bench. But for Havertz hasn't got that. So I think that could be part of the reason why he's not performing well because there's, there could be a number of things, but I don't think it helps there not being any competition.
His German mates, I don't know. I doubt it. He says it doesn't bother him. I wouldn't give him that excuse. I don't think so. We give silly excuses for loads of things. Let me just quickly react to that, which I was saying before you actually joined.
Yeah.
So Supreme, of course, you are absolutely correct that the timing of the run is completely key, 1,000,000%. But what you said is that this stat completely ignores it, which it does. But but the excuse of the timing was never, like the question of the timing of the run was never put for Sterling, was never put for Timo, was never put for Lukaku. You question it though for Havertz. That's what I'm trying to point out. Of course, the timing is basically all that matters for a run. Like if you're not going to time it right, you might as well save yourself the whole run because if it's timed badly, it's completely pointless. So I completely agree that it's completely key and vital. But number one, how can a set of stats look at that? So, that's impossible for a stat to do. So how will you ever have stats of that? We're discussing this stat that is a real stat. But again, the question is that the hate. Why did Timo not get that question? Why did Havertz not get that question? The timing of the run. Why did Sterling? Like Sterling is the guy that misses all of our chances so far this season. Havertz missed one. Now, he hasn't had more, which is a problem in and of itself. But people say, he misses everything. But he's not the guy that's missed our chances. Sterling is the guy that's missed our chances.
Havertz did miss two chances. He missed two chances against Spurs, pretty decent ones.
What's the first one? I remember
the first one, the big one, and that first one where he was played in the first half down the right hand side, and he basically dragged it wide.
No, that was saved, and we scored from that
saved. Corner. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, saved. I mean, I'm not saying he should have scored that, but
from that corner. It's a good effort, I reckon.
Sterling
who's guided from 10 yards. Like again, that's why I'm asking why. Like, I don't want to hate on Sterling either, but I just don't understand why people have now decided let's just hate on Havertz. That's the part I don't understand.
I think
why?
I don't know. I think it's just that people just expect more. Like at the end of the day, like
and that is fair. I will never disagree with that.
I think there's criticism because there is ability in there. And it's just frustration that actually, Joe, if this was Havertz's level and this is what you expected each week, then all right, you'd be annoyed, but you wouldn't, you just kind of accept it's like this is what he is. But there's a better player than what we're getting in there, but it's just finding it. Havertz has got to find it himself. And as we said many times before, mate, Tuchel's got to find a way of getting more out of Kai Havertz. Because at the moment, whatever he's doing, and I don't know what he's doing because we're not there, but whatever he's doing, is not getting the best out of Kai Havertz, whether that's positional, whether that's giving him the confidence, or I don't know what it is. But whatever's happening, the manager's not getting the best out of him. So it works both ways. He's got to improve his performances, but then Tuchel's got to try and give this guy everything possible to perform to a better level.
He's given him every starting position in the world, so it's not up to Tuchel anymore.
No, it's not. It's not.
8. Which I still think he will probably be best at. I know everyone else disagrees with this, but I will stick by that opinion until I see him do it again. In my opinion, the best game he's had for us in terms of overall performance was Burnley away under Frank Lampard as an 8. I think that was his best performance in a Chelsea shirt. And that was his 8. So and I personally just want to see that a few more times. And the next thing, I mean, Pies mentioned it a few minutes ago, where it's like, why doesn't he drop deep? The reason he doesn't drop deep is because, you know how, Pies, you always say you think he would be best in a 2-striker formation. And maybe that's also the case. But he's most certainly not the best in a 2-striker formation when he's the main striker. Because the way we've played recently, kind of like this to some extent, he is the furthest, most real striker out of those. If anything, he would be best as the second striker, not as the first striker. And that's also the reason why he drops deep less, because this Donny exists. That's usually Mount. Whether Mount is a bit over here or over there, he's still in this area where you'd like Havertz to drop into. But there's someone else there already. So takes that part out of Havertz's game. And you can't even be a link-up, like a second striker that moves around another striker, because he's the guy that's supposed to be moved around. Do you know what I mean? So it's a tough one. But we have so many questions, actually, for this game in terms of who to start. We need to get onto this. And, Pies, we touched on it for a minute earlier, but I think the goalkeeper one is the first big one. Kepa or Mendy? What do you think? And today, I want to completely ignore, I mean, you can add what you think Tuchel will do, but what we will put on screen is what we would like to do, because Tuchel at this point just wants Anthony Gordon. So I don't really want to put that on screen anymore. No, I'm joking. But you get what I feel like it's more interesting at the moment if we talk about what we'd like to see than what Tuchel will do, because Tuchel will just play Havertz anyway. So, do you know what I mean? Havertz and Mendy will all just play because it's Tuchel. That's what he will do. Do you know what I mean? But in your opinion, should it be Kepa or should it be Mendy?
If it was down to me, I'd pick Kepa, just because I think Mendy shouldn't get away with that type of performance. And I already explained this last week, but I think setting that precedent that you can get away with such a mistake and then just move on like nothing's happened and that it hasn't happened before is dangerous to not only, mainly just squad morale, to be honest with you. Like, at this point, Kepa is basically Bettinelli. Like, what is he training for if he can't, he wants to play Premier League games, and a lot of them he won't play, but when stuff like that happens, you've got to play him, in my opinion. But yeah, I think he'll pick Mendy, but I'd pick Kepa.
I do agree that he will pick Mendy. But Charlie, what about you? Do you think Mendy has done too much wrong to keep his spot? And do you think Kepa needs to be given a chance now? Or do you think we need to stick with Mendy for maybe 1 or 2 more games? And if he screws up again, then it's time for Kepa?
I think Mendy's very much probably. I'd pick Mendy. And I think just because I think, I think you should have an opportunity to be able to rectify the mistakes that you've made. I think he's very much on what would be maybe his last chance, potentially, if there were to be another big error in the next few games. And I think there's a bit more of a conversation to be had. But right now, I think, yes, that it's not been the best start to the season. Pre-season is a bit iffy. But I think one more big mistake, perhaps in this game or in Southampton or something like that, then there's a serious conversation to be had. But for me, I'd still keep him in.
Okay, that is also fair. Now, it's actually interesting because I've not made my mind up, and I'll tell you why. I would like to start Kepa, and I think he warrants that, and I think Mendy also deserves to be dropped. It's just the opponent that I'm not sure if I want to play Kepa again. Because cast your minds back to 2020. When we lost, 2021? When did we lose against Leicester in the FA Cup final? Was that 2021 or 2020?
2021.
Yeah, because it was before the Champions League final against City. So we played against Leicester, had Kepa in goal. We lost the game 1-0 due to an absolute thunderstrike from distance into the top corner. Now, do I want to play Kepa, who struggles with long shots because he's short, against the team that won I think their only FA Cup in their history, if not their only, the first in a very, very long time, against that very goalkeeper? I feel like maybe in terms of just mindset for us and for them, maybe this is not the game to play Kepa, just because I don't want to give them that extra bit of hope and confidence that they can just score a screamer. Because if that happens, if we play Kepa and he makes no mistakes in terms of with the ball and his distribution is great, and he makes even some good, stops, but then he gets beaten with a long shot again by Leicester, that will trigger me. So maybe for that reason, I might ever so slightly side with Charlie and say, okay, go with Mendy one more time. Maybe if he makes another mistake, unless that happens in more than 20 games time, if he makes another mistake, then he's out. And then Kepa gets to play until he makes a mistake. I think we need the only reason I'm not saying Kepa is because it's Leicester. Maybe that's silly of me because who scored that goal against us? Was it Perez or Tielemans?
It was Tielemans.
And he's a doubt, or is he out tomorrow, please? One of the two.
Who are Tielemans?
Yeah.
I think he's playing.
Yeah, I think he should play. He
was
was on the
someone in
bench.
chat said earlier he might be out. And
I think Madison's a doubt, I think.
Madison's a doubt.
Madison is a
Tielemans
doubt for
should
sure. Yes. But I think Tielemans might be as well. I could be wrong. But, I mean, Chelsea 2012 says out, but don't know. Like, if anyone knows for sure about Tielemans' situation, please put it in the chat. But fair enough. You know what? For the time being, I'll just leave it as another person said out. Kepa/Mendy. But, Pice, do you see why I said Mendy for that long shot Leicester reason, or do you think I'm stretching that
one? Might be stretching it a little bit. I don't know. Is Tielemans gonna try another long shot just because he scored that in the FA Cup final? Maybe. But yeah, I think you might be stretching it a little bit. Just because I think as well with Mendy, like another big reason, again, what I said to you last week, why I really, really liked Mendy was because he was commanding this box so well from set pieces. And, you know, he's not doing that. And does Kepa really do that? No. So, I mean, it's a pick of two sort of goalies you don't really want starting at the moment, in my opinion. But I'd just pick Kepa just because I think the precedent
it's been a long time since I last wasn't happy with Kepa's performance, I will say.
Yeah,
think back to when was the last time Kepa actually get to play and we were not happy with what he did. It's a long time ago.
Yeah, but they weren't in Prem games, like, were they? I feel like, so I think it's a bit different. But I would
it was
still
Prem games when Mendy was at the AFCON, of course.
True. I'd pick Kepa.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that I wouldn't have worries with him.
Yeah. I think Kepa will forever, no matter how often more games he plays for Chelsea, every time he plays, there will be a little bit of worry in us. I think that always will be there.
Especially because he hasn't played for so long as well. That could be another problem.
Very true. Even in pre-season, he played the first one or two, I feel like, or the first and then the third, but then Mendy just got 90s in between, which I was like, surely just give Kepa a bit of game time. But anyway, let's leave it as Kepa/Mendy. The next question we'll have to answer, because we only have two if you include Chalobah, but he seems to be going on loan. So how likely is he to feature? So let's say most likely one real centre-back available for this game. So will we then play a back three or will we then play a back four? What do you think, Charlie?
I think we'll probably stick with the three. I mean, if we were going to see the four, I think there's a very good chance it could be in this game for sure. We're going to see one from the off, but I probably still think it will be the three, just because I think we still have got the personnel to do it. I know, like obviously Koulibaly is missing, but yeah, I think we do, because I think you could literally play Thiago Silva in the middle, Cucurella as left centre back, and they play Azpilicueta as right centre back. Obviously, I would rather Chalobah play, but he seems to be out of favour, so it will obviously be Aspi. Or we could see what we've seen for the last two games, which I hope we don't see, is we could also see Reece James there with Ruben Loftus-Cheek playing at right wing back again, like we saw in the last two games. So I think there's two or three options to actually play there. So I think we probably will still go with a three at the back.
Yeah, see, if Chalobah was to get this spot, I would agree with you. Then I think it's okay. But see, if Cucurella, Thiago Silva and Aspi, we wouldn't have a single player in our back three over 6 foot. That is a problem. I think Thiago Silva might just claim 6 foot.
The Leicester a big side?
Well, they have like Johnny Evans, and who's the other centre back? And
Soyuncu, Amati.
No, they play Amati lately, because I mean they do have Vestergaard, who's like 6'5", but he doesn't.
I don't think he's not really. He don't play, does he?
No, but even still though, like no defender over 6 foot is a problem. Like no matter what the opposition is, surely.
Yeah, I agree. It's not ideal. It's not ideal.
So that's why I think this is okay if Chalobah plays here. But then if Chalobah plays anyway, why don't we just play a back four with Silva and Chalobah? Rather than, I know Cucurella can play as a left centre back. We're all aware of this. But he's done that for Brighton. Does that automatically mean he can do it for us in his third best position? Because it probably goes in order of left back, left wing back, left centre back. I don't know. I would see. You know what? I'm going to put that on screen because you know what, Charlie. Like I said earlier, let's just focus on what we would do. Whether Tuchel will play Chalobah or not, I disagree in the first place. But let Chalobah go anywhere. So might as well put him on the screen.
Oh, we know Chalobah's not playing tomorrow, but I'd play him.
Yeah, there you go. Fair play. Price. Do you think we will and should stick to the back three? Actually, Charlie, would you also yourself stick to the back three, or do you just think Tuchel will do that?
No, I probably would stick with the back three. I think it's probably because we're obviously coming off the back of 2 games where we've not won, obviously coming off the back of a battering against Leeds. We've let in 5 goals. I'll probably keep that defensive, I say solidity, but we have shipped 5 in the last 2. But I think we probably look to stay, like not concede a goal in the first sort of 15, 20 minutes and then kind of expand from there. So I think it's better that, if we need to chase the game, we can switch to the 4 in the second half. But I think I'd stick with the 3.
I'm not. See, I personally just not for necessarily tomorrow, but in general, I personally much rather start with a 4, get a 1 or 2 goal lead, and then switch it to see it out, rather than this other idea of we see how it goes with our back 3. If we then can't score, we switch to a back 4 because we do that, we commit more forward, then we get hit on the counter and lose. That's what happened in the second half against Leeds. We were okay at the start of the second half, switched all of a sudden to Ruben as a 6, Pulisic and Mount as 8. All of a sudden we were 3-0 down and the game was done. So it was, yeah. But I still think you have a valid reason in terms of the back 3 is now the time. I've said it many times. I would like to see a back 3, but back 4, but unless that is probably worked on, then I don't. So if we're not confident in our whatever we do in the back 4, maybe it's just better to stick to the back 3. Price, what's your thoughts on that in terms of formation and defense?
I'm a bit sort of mind boggled over this really because see what we're doing, what I predict he'll do, or what I would do. Because
what you would do.
I mean, I would prefer with our current injuries and stuff if we would play like a 4-3-3, but at the end of the day, we ain't got a centre back like Chalobah's not going to play. Like even if I would play him, it's not even like worth debating that for me. So I don't see a 4-3-3 or even a 4-2-2. I don't see it. I only see the 3 at the back due to Koulibaly being suspended and Aspi can't play there in a 4. So I see this formation. I see. Okay, what I would do is I would probably do.
I mean, there's still a shout for Reece James there if we want to keep Ruben at right wing.
I don't know. I don't like doing what I would do because it's completely different to what I know he will do. So
fair enough. But just tell us at least what you would do, whether we then put it on screen or not. Different discussion.
Well, this back 3 with Ruben and Chilwell as wing backs.
And Reece in midfield.
No. So no, Reece and Chilwell as wing backs.
Okay, yeah.
And the midfield, I would play Jorginho and Ampadu, and the front 3 would probably be Sterling. Oh, man, I want to say Sterling, Broja, and Mount. That would be my team. If Gallagher plays in that 6th role again, I'm honestly going to shoot myself.
Fair. I mean, we'll get to the midfield in a second because I do have a personal why I wouldn't. This Jorginho Ampadu combination, in my opinion, I don't know.
It's too defensive. It's too defensive, but at the same time,
Ampadu should only play instead of Jorginho, not with Jorginho.
But at the same time, anyone but Conor Gallagher in there for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, I would put Ruben there, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, true. I don't know. I don't like him in there though. That's the only reason why. Yeah, no, go on, Ruben in there. Actually, he's better than Ampadu, isn't he? No, even if it's not ideal.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, if I picked what I think is most likely, I think this, but Chalobah instead of Aspi, I think is the most likely. There's a chance he plays Reece right centre back again, and Ruben keeps Ruben at right wing back, but I think. With Koulibaly missing, he's going to put Aspi in the team, I think. And at centre-back. That's my opinion. But let's leave that on screen. Now, because Cucurella is here, there's not even much of a discussion to be had. Chilwell needs to play and needs to hopefully play better than he did away at Everton, even though he won as a penalty.
What do you think about Chilwell at left centre-back? Because really, it's not much different to Cucurella being there. I mean, he's taller. I know he doesn't really like I mean, Emerson played there and he looked all right. I wonder if, maybe they could switch or something.
See, I hear that, but
they probably will switch, won't they, anyway?
Also, it's less running for him, I think.
Yeah. But Tuchel, whenever he speaks about Chilwell, he always says he's a proper left wing back. He never even considers him for a split second as a left centre back. I don't know exactly the reason. Maybe he's not good enough at one-on-one defending. Maybe
he isn't. To be fair, he has given away a lot of penalties.
Yeah, maybe that's the reason. I'm not 100% sure, because in terms of just purely for height, I would probably agree. But really, I know I said just what we would do, but we probably have to keep some sort of realism. We can't all of a sudden say, well, let's play a 4-2-4. I mean, they're probably not going to do that. Although is a 4-2-4 that different from a 4-2-2? Maybe not. But anyway, still, if Cucurella plays here, this will be sure. Well, there's not really much of a debate about it. But now, Charlie, let me ask you. Pice has already said what he would do, because he would put Ruben in midfield. And you've said you don't want Reece James at right centre-back again. So I assume Reece James at right wing-back then?
Oh, yeah, 100%, mate. It has to be. I think particularly for this game as well, we're at home. We need to win. We're coming off the back of a loss, and we need our best attacking players in their best positions. And I know Reece James can contribute so much to the attack, and he can still get forward from the right centre back.
But only if he plays well. If it plays like he did against Everton, then I need none of that.
True. But I think in a home game against Leicester, I know we've seen in the past Tuchel play him as a right centre back to combat Jamie Vardy and his pace and whatnot. But I'd be surprised if we saw that again. I think we've got to play Reece James at right wing back to get the most from him. I just think it's as simple as that. Particularly in a home game as well against a team that's not won a single game all season, really struggling. It'd be stupid not to for me.
See, I agree. Now, even though Reece James is better as a right wing back than as a right centre back, is there a debate to be had that Loftus-Cheek instead of Reece James is actually the more offensive option? Even if Reece is better, is Ruben not the more offensive player anyway?
Yeah, but I don't want to see Ruben get in those positions in the box again and just not take a shot. But then again, those situations need to happen more often for him to ever start taking the shot. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, they do. But I just think that if we get Ruben in those situations, everyone's just saying, I wish it was James in that situation, which is a fair point. So 100%. Look, I think Ruben's decent. Has proved he can play there, but it's the same issue. Are we really happy for Ruben to play right wing back pretty much most weeks? Not really. For an odd game here and there, I think fine. He's proven he can do it. But for a consistent run of games, he's going to get found out. And I just think for this game, which we need to win, it's at home against a struggling side. Just play Reece James at right wing back. We can always change it if we need to. But, I think you just... Yeah. I think...
I agree with everything you say, except the reason. The whole Leicester at home, we need to win. That makes me think, if anything, surely then play Reece James right centre-back. He can push on from there anyway, which he does from that position anyways.
But I think we
need
to...
Ruben there,
I think we need to play as many people as we can in their actual favoured positions. I just think at the moment, against Leeds, we had about 5 or 6 players on the pitch that weren't playing in A, their favoured position, or B, being used in the way that they usually used when they play in that position. So I just think we want to get as many players playing in their actual positions. I know Reece James can do a good job at right centre-back, but we want him in his proper position.
I think that's a good point, actually. I think that's a good point. I think when you're struggling as a whole, and we are at the moment, putting players into the position that they're most comfortable in can make a big difference. And I think you make a fair point there. Pice, would you agree? Chelsea beating City and the 21s, Harvey Vale scored. And what I want to know is Chukwuemeka playing?
He is playing. Yeah.
He is, yeah.
Well, that's just silly. But anyway, Pice, would you go for Reece James as well?
Well, right wing back? Yeah, I think so. Definitely. I think we need that offensive threat. We need the crosses coming in. For me, I don't want to start putting James at right centre back too much. I'd put him back to wing back this game. I think we need him.
Fair play. Midfield then. I'll go to Charlie. Now, with Kante being injured and Kovacic only being available for 20 minutes, what we do know is Jorginho will and has to start. So that's nothing we can do about that. Whether anyone will want to or not is a different debate. Well, we can't change it anyway. But who will you play next to him? Do you agree with Pice that Gallagher there was an experiment we did in that first half against Leeds, and now that's enough? Or do you think because we're now going to play Leicester and at the Bridge, and they're not going to be anywhere near as pressing as Leeds will be, that Gallagher would find it much more easy in this position in this game? Which I think he would. But that doesn't necessarily mean I would start him there, but I do still think he would be much better.
Yeah,
when it's not against.
Yeah, he'd definitely be better because it's at home. It's a home game against a side, as you said, that doesn't press as much as Leeds will. It's obviously a choice of two players. Like for me, like Ruben is probably slightly better in that, probably slightly better there, a bit more experienced and whatnot. But then part of me is also like, well, it's a bit like, how can we just like, let's chuck Gallagher out, but then how can as possible, it sets a dangerous precedent in the squad. Like Gallagher will have one start, and he was part of a team that every single player last week was shit. Yet you'll see certain players that, despite being shit, get picked every week. But Gallagher will be like, well, hang on a second, I've played shit in one game, which everyone was shit in. Yeah,
he was the reason why we conceded so many attacks. So like,
but what I'm saying is, there's like,
there's nothing to do with any of the goals we conceded.
No, but it's an accountability. It's an accountability thing as well. Like Gallagher could feel. I mean, I wouldn't say he'd feel hard done by to be dropped, but like when you see certain players getting picked every week, despite how badly they're playing, I think Gallagher could feel a little bit hard done by in terms of like, well, he's had one opportunity and yet.
But
he did play shit.
If we pick James right wing back, that means you're kind of having to decide between Gallagher and Loftus-Cheek. Wouldn't Loftus-Cheek also have to feel hard done by for getting dropped? Because
he would be. Yeah,
Gallagher was, even if it's a different position.
I think Loftus-Cheek. I would start Loftus-Cheek, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tuchel picks Gallagher again.
I agree with you. Now I think there's a chance to just place Ruben there because obviously he shifted Ruben into there at the start of the second half. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did.
And when we shifted to a proper back four, then Ruben was in midfield, and Gallagher moved to the front right cam, if you want to call it that, even though it's not central, so RAM, in this 4-2-2 that we played until we made the second half subs. That's probably the midfield I'd pick as well. I would be happy to give Gallagher, like I want to give him a chance again in the pivot because I think it's, while I agree with Spice and a lot of people, Felix as well, who was on the channel once before, they're very adamant Gallagher cannot play as a 6. And I agree with that today. Do you know what I mean? Today. That doesn't mean a good coach, and I still believe that Thomas Tuchel is a good coach, even if not for attackers, can, just with working on him, telling him how to move, how to act, how to, I think that can get better at it and can get into a position where, as the more offensive of a double pivot, can be a decent player. But I still think at this moment in time, I'd probably just trust Ruben more to do that than I trust Gallagher to do that. Will Ruben press as hard as Gallagher does? No, he won't. But maybe that's not what we need right now. We need stability and not pressing from our midfielder to then leave a gap for Jorginho to get run by and everyone have a go Jorginho, even though that's only happening because the midfielder pressed but then couldn't get back into position in time. I'd rather just keep stability and find other ways to attack, which we won't because we don't coach our attackers how to attack. We just ask them to attack, but they're not good enough to do it by themselves. So that's a problem. But I would probably go for this as well. I mean, Picey said it earlier already, but if you want to elaborate potentially.
I mean, I just think we need that physical presence in there. I was also thinking maybe Mason Mount drop in deeper and have a different attacker up, maybe freshen it up a bit, whether it be a Pulisic or even a Ziyech. But I think Loftus-Cheek more likely in this game to move into the middle, and I think maybe James plays as more inverted. That did work well at times last season. So yeah, I put Loftus-Cheek in there, but I wouldn't be against Mount sitting back and kind of doing that role, just because I think he has more. Like, I know you said that Tuchel should coach it, but I do think he's more sort of already tactically disciplined to sort of know where he should be and shouldn't be. Whereas Gallagher, I think, is very raw still. So I wouldn't mind either, but I'm going to go with Loftus-Cheek just because of the physical strength in there. I think we need that. Might just try and overpower them, especially if they don't have Maddison. Like, I don't know, Tielemans, they got Dewsbury Hall. I don't know who else. I don't know. Do they play free in midfield? I'm not sure, but I'd give Ruben a go in the middle, even though I don't necessarily like him in there as such. But I think he'd just be better than Gallagher in there for me.
Fair. Now, let's say you said Mount, because we're now going to move to the front three. If Mount wouldn't be in the front three, who would replace Mount in the front three then? If he were to play...
See, I would... This is... Well, it shouldn't really be controversial, but I'd move Sterling to the right-hand side to link up with James. I would put...
But then not in this formation, but in a 3-4-3 proper.
Yeah, like a 3-4-3, yeah. I'd move Sterling to the right. I'd put Broja up front, and I'd have Pulisic on the left. I would mix it up quite a bit.
Okay. I don't think it would be the worst idea. Now, maybe I'd prefer to keep Sterling on the left and play Pulisic on the right, if I'm honest. But in terms of players selected, I wouldn't necessarily have a problem with it.
I think you get a lot of dynamism in that front three, and then you have the guy in the box that Broja is more natural than Havertz again. But we might have that. I mean, this is not going to happen anyway. But it's just something that I'm thinking. I think Havertz should be dropped for a game. I think. Because of what I've gone for, I mean, and the fact that Pulisic is, Dad keeps going on about him. I think give Pulisic a start, see what he can do, and I mean, I do like Sterling on the right for England as well when he plays there. So
fair, but now that you have picked Ruben rather than Mount in midfield, and Mount will clearly still be part of the front three, would you then still go for that formation, or what I had on screen before, with where it was kind of Mount behind the two?
See, when you do this, like, I don't like Havertz being one of those strikers, which is weird because he's better in a two. I just don't think he...
But we discussed that earlier, didn't we? He would be okay as this one, but not as this one.
Yeah, great. I'd go Broja and Sterling, because I think Broja running the lines.
But would you play this, or would you play Mount as like he has done most of last season and on the right of the 3-4-3?
I would. Well, I mean, it depends. I think it could switch during the games. I would prefer. Yeah. I would prefer this on screen right now, but of course we're gonna need width as well when James comes pushing up, and he can't just be on his own out there. So yeah, I think Broja would be good with two up front. Yeah, I think Broja would be good up top, man, with two people, especially running the lines.
Obviously only returned to training yesterday, so whether he's even fit to start, we don't know, because Kovacic only can do 20 minutes. So can Broja start? I don't know. I personally doubt it. And I'm very sure Havertz will just start. Whether that's because Tuchel picks him regardless of bad form, or whether he picks him because Broja isn't fit, that part I don't know. But fair enough. Charlie, then, let me take it over to you. Now, number one, would you prefer to see a 1-2 or a 2-1, basically, in terms of front three lineup?
I don't know. I'll probably go with the three at the front. But again, it can obviously it's quite easy to interchange that. So it's not exactly. It's not really. It doesn't really make too much difference. Sterling will definitely. I would still start Sterling. I think personally, like, the front three has got to change in terms of we've had Havertz, Sterling, and Mount start for the first 3 games of the season. No goals they haven't scored any goals, and they got 1 assist, which was Sterling's 10-yard pass to Reece James against Spurs. We've had nothing from them. Havertz has been poor I think for 3 games, but definitely 2. And Mount has been poor for 2 games as well. Now, there's got to be a level of accountability at some point where you cannot keep being rewarded with starts week in, week out for doing absolutely nothing on the pitch.
But that's what happens when you sell players before you sign players.
But then there's also the point of, but what I'm saying is, though, like, you can understand why the likes of Callum wants to leave, because I know Ziyech wants to leave, and Pulisic is probably considering his options, maybe not for this window, but for the next window or next summer. Like, what more can you do as a Pulisic or I'm not saying I'm the biggest fan of Pulisic by any means, but what I'm saying is, like, what more can someone like a Pulisic do, or a Hudson-Odoi? Like, when you see the front three,
train better, I would.
Yeah, but when you see the front three starting every single week and doing nothing, and yet they keep getting picked, what more can you do as a player? You're sat on the bench, you're thinking, what can I actually do to get minutes? Because whatever's happening, the gaffer is just literally picking the same front three every week, despite them contributing nothing. There's got to be a certain point where you get to, and you're like, right, if you don't play well for a couple of games, you're benched. But there doesn't seem to be that level of accountability. Well, not for certain players. I mean, I mentioned it on the stream earlier in the week, mate. How can Tuchel sort of hook Callum Hudson-Odoi last season at Southampton after 20 minutes when he came on, re-subbed him off again, yet we're seeing different standards for players like Havertz, and I'd also say for Mount as well. I love Mason Mount. What I'm saying is
the same goes for last season, Werner or Lukaku. How many times were they clearly bad enough to be subbed off if they weren't?
Exactly. This is the point. Like, as a manager, like, I don't know if he's stubborn or he just sees something that none of us can see ourselves, or Havertz is just literally unbelievable in training. But like, it comes a point now where you think, if you're a Broja, for example, I know he's missed most of the preseason, he's had a couple of injuries here and there, but if you're Broja, there's a clear pathway, but yet you still can't get any minutes. Like, how is that? So far he
hasn't been available.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, though, like, we know that if there's a choice between Havertz and Broja, we know that Tuchel's picking Havertz. It's just facts. Like, Kai Havertz would 100%. But I'd be absolutely shocked if Havertz didn't start tomorrow. I'd be shocked. Like,
let me ask you: if Broja say isn't fit to start again tomorrow, and you still want to leave Havertz out, how probably would that look? Or would you then still start Havertz?
No, if Broja's not fit to start, I just can't start Kai Havertz again. I'd probably end up going with Sterling through the middle, Mount one side, and Pulisic the other side, and then you could have it. You could either have it as Sterling and Pulisic as twin strikers, and then Mount a little bit deeper if Broja wasn't fit. But if Broja's fit to play, I would probably play.
Personally, I think that would be better than as a front three, in my opinion.
To be honest, if Broja, for me, Broja, I'd go Broja, Sterling. I mean, when I've done it earlier on my channel, I did actually go Sterling, Pulisic, and Broja. I just think something's got to change at the top end of the pitch. Like,
I'm just going to not pick Broja because if he's not fit, then we've just wasted our breath. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I think he is fit. Tuchel said in the presser that everyone's fit to play apart from Kante.
Fit.
But
Kovacic can only do
20 minutes. Kova can do 20 minutes,
And Kova had one more day of training.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, mate, I'm quite happy with that on the screen there. The only other option I would have gone with was to drop Mount as well. I just think we just need to shake things up in the final third. Like, too many mediocre performances. No, well, I would have gone with Broja. But if we're not picking Broja, then I'd go with Mount. But otherwise, I'd go Mount. I'd go Broja, Sterling, and Pulisic as my front three.
Fair enough.
But obviously, if I'm not picking Broja, then I would go with what's on the screen. I just think we need something different. We've seen just nothing from the front three that have played the first 3 games. You can't keep playing the same players and expecting something magic to happen, something different. We're just not seeing it. So we have to switch it up. So I think that is decent, or Broja to start. But I know that Broja won't start anyway. But we can hope.
Unfortunately. So a lot of people in the chat, and ladies and gentlemen, I still appreciate you very much if you're still here.
RMC Sports saying we've agreed a deal for Fofana. Please.
But do we believe RMC Sport?
It's Fabrice Hawkins who broke the Koulibaly one. So Chelsea and Leicester have just reached a deal for Wesley Fofana. Verbal agreement according to RMC Sport. Now finalising the transfer and paperwork.
Who tweeted that?
Fabrice
RMC
Hawkins?
Sports. He's the guy that.
I know. I'm on RMC Sports, but they don't tweet in English, do they?
No, mate. Go on Fabrice Hawkins. Just at Fabrice Hawkins.
2 seconds. I just need to grab my charger. 2 seconds.
And then you can translate it.
Yeah. Fabrice Hawkins, like with a H.
No, Hawkins.
Yeah. I mean, he's got 20,000 followers and no.
20
no verifications.
20k followers, mate. It's that first. It's
mate, if this is true, I'm the best predictor of all time. I said it would happen Friday.
True.
I'm just surprised if it is true. I'm just surprised they're announcing it a day before the game.
I guess he's not playing anyway, and now it's too late for us to use him. So
I'm hoping this is true because he's the one who literally he was on Koulibaly.
Yeah, he has it pinned him getting a Koulibaly thing right.
Yeah.
Verbal agreement. I mean, it's only verbal, so who knows? Leicester might still mug us off. But info according to RMC Sport: verbal agreement between Chelsea and Leicester for the transfer of Wesley Fofana.
Around the record
close to complete the transfer, and agreement has been reached around a record sum for a 21-year-old defender. Fair enough. Thoughts, boys?
Well, about time, really, to be honest, mate. We've been pissing about of this for weeks and weeks now.
We'll see. Hopefully it's true.
Hopefully it's true. But yeah, it's just about time, mate. Just it's taken so long, this. So yeah, I'm just glad it's potentially done.
Yeah, there you go. Let me get this back off the screen so we can get back to the lineup and actually finish this off, which we will very quickly. My only concern into this team that you just spoke about, Charlie, in terms of this front three, especially if I know that Thomas Tuchel for a fact will play Aspie and not Chalobah. Then we'd literally, and then there's no even a guarantee Loftus-Cheek still starts. We literally have no tall player, especially imagine if it's Kepa in goal as well. We have no tall player in a whole team. I'm like, how are we going to defend set pieces if we don't even have Havertz or Broja to put at the near post? Like,
well, we aren't defending them anyway, are we? So
it's true. That's a fair point.
No, I don't know. I mean, height is a thing, but you could even say, I know Chukwuemeka's playing tonight, but you're thinking this is an opportunity. Tuchel's saying that Chukwuemeka would 100% be part of to be part of the first team plans. Why is he playing
tonight? I don't get.
Why is he playing development squad? Like, I just feel like
especially while we have Kante out.
He lost the ball for the City goal. To be fair,
but I just think if Tuchel's saying that, like, Chukwuemeka is like, I'm not saying Chukwuemeka should start or anything, but like the fact that he got no minutes against Leeds, the fact that he'll probably be on the bench tomorrow, but I doubt.
And he brought Pulisic on as the 8 instead, which is just not Pulisic's position.
But like, you're thinking this is a guy who spent 20 million quid on. Well, best part, it will be when all the add-ons are done. Like, surely, if Tuchel's saying he's ready to be part of the first team setup, what is the point of just like he might as well go on loan if he's just going to play in the 21s? There's no point in playing in the 21s, really.
No, I completely agree. And Mohamed, in terms of why no one's picking Ziyech, probably a simple explanation, and it's after we lost 3-0 in Leeds, he took a plane straight to Amsterdam. Even if that deal might not happen, a player that goes from losing 3-0 to Amsterdam, trying to sort either his own move away from our club out or meeting up with friends for the banter, because it can only be one of the two. Neither of those things should happen straight after we lose 3-0, should they? In the middle of the season. Like, we're not, like, I know we didn't have a midweek game, but still, it's not like we're, I don't know, in February and we've already played hundreds and thousands of games and minutes that players that deserve a rest. No. We're 2 games in and we just lost 3-0. Would I, in terms of ability, play him? Maybe. No, I wouldn't. But it'd be closer to it than if he didn't leave. Actually, quick chat. So, okay, I'll remember this for a second. Pies, just quickly. What would you think about this front three, if it were to be this front three? Say Broja isn't fit, you know what I mean?
There's a lot of dynamism there. There's a lot of pace. I'd expect Sterling and Pulisic to get at the defenders. It's just,
I could already see us spamming cross after cross. Putting a header in.
Yeah, I do agree. There might be not lack of threat, but there's definitely a lack of height. I'm not sure.
Leicester will park the bus, and then we will have to cross, and then how are we going to score?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously low cross, I understand, but you need to mix it up. But let's get this off the screen. Whatever it will be tomorrow, we'll see. Which had a little fun talking about that. Super quick chat before we round this out. Is it just me? Because I personally, and I understand a lot of people disagree with this, but I personally found it very silly how a lot of people lost their mind that Pulisic posted a picture with his
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Honestly, it's pathetic.
But what do you think is pathetic? That he posted it or that people lost their shit?
No, the people getting mad about it. It's a fucking picture. Like, honestly, what? Like, everyone posts pics of them, mate. All right, we've lost 3-0. But at the end of the day, they're his mates.
He didn't post it the day off. He posted it 3 days later.
But they're his mates. Like, so what? It's not even a big deal.
Yeah. Like I say, like, if he posted it on the night, maybe I'd be a bit more accepting. Like, maybe don't just... At least if he posted the same picture without saying anything about losing. But because he was posted on Tuesday, didn't he? So why do people lose their minds? Like, you really have lesser problems. Like, those are the specific people that have never find a reason to criticize Thomas Tuchel. Those are the people that criticize Pulisic for posting that picture because they refuse to criticize Tuchel. They're like, okay, I need to find everything's shit, so I need to just find something else to criticize because I can't blame Tuchel. Which is, you don't have to hate Tuchel. You don't have to want Tuchel out. Neither do I. But you're still allowed to criticize him. Pulisic posted what? He posted a picture with his 2 American teammates that play for Leeds. Forget their names, Tyler Adams and whatever the other one is.
Aronson.
There you go. Wait, is he American? And called Aronson?
Yeah,
the Moreno.
Aronson. Yeah, Brendan Aronson. Yeah, he's the Salzburg kid, isn't it? Yeah.
See, AJ says that if we lost to West Ham and Mount did that and posted a picture after with Rice, yes, a certain part of the fan base would also criticize that, and I would tell that part of the fan base exactly the same as I'm telling the part of the fan base that's criticizing Pulisic now. Are you stupid? Stop criticizing people for posting a picture with their mates. Like, come on now. What is this? What's your thoughts on this? Do you think I'm being too nice, or?
I don't really have much of a comment on it, to be fair. Yeah, I don't really care too much. Is what it is. I mean, Pulisic doesn't really. I mean, he doesn't really owe the fan base anything right now, anyway, because a lot of people do shit on him. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a bit of a stretch, to be fair, from some of our fans.
Yeah, I personally, what I find much more annoying, and I know it's also not a big thing, but I still find it a lot more of an issue than Pulisic posting a picture with two mates 3 days after we lost. What I didn't like is that other than Thiago Silva, maybe one or two others, no one posted anything about the game. I'm like, I don't like this hiding after we lose, and then after we win, caption after caption where we're great. Like, yeah, I understand you're happy when you win and you're sad when you lose, but there's still a certain amount of responsibility to the fans, and I would like I was very miserable after losing against Leeds. I would have liked to hear some positive words from some of our players to cheer me up. So yeah, that's basically it. But you know what, Pies? Why don't you react to this super chat by Swiss Daniel? He says, I know Kova is missed, but he's not a creative midfielder. I'm sorry, but that midfield should be priority over the likes of Aubameyang and other shit. Don't focus on that he's not a creative midfielder part as much, because that's certainly a debate to be had. Because not a debate to be had for is he a creative midfielder, but what's the debate to be had about this is what's the definition of a creative midfielder? Because
people just think a creative midfielder is someone that actually registers 15, 20 assists. Yes, but the amount of times Kovacic picks up nice passes and progresses the ball to our front line faster than anyone in our team is massively underrated. It literally, like, it's night and day when he's not on the pitch. I don't know how people don't see this. Like, how 2 years ago as well, Kovacic has come on leaps and bounds. 2 years ago, he was not a great passer. Honestly, he's always been a world-class dribbler. World class, but he wasn't very, like, you know what I mean? He didn't pick out those nice passes. Last season, his vision, I don't know what happened, but it just went up tenfold, and it was consistent throughout the whole season. It wasn't like a few games. You know, he was constantly picking out nice passes, lovely switches of play. Like, he definitely improved his vision. So I don't agree with the first part of the super chat. I mean, would you, like, when you say Kovacic, is the first thing you think of is he a creative midfielder? Is that the first thing that comes to your mind? No. Obviously, the dribbling comes to your mind.
I think now you're right. I think now
he's still
a versatile midfielder that has a creative part to him that has also other things to it.
Like, you can't call him not a creative midfielder when he is one of the best passers in our team. That doesn't make sense. I mean, you could say, well, you've just got low standards because, you know, City have got De Bruyne, blah, 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 blah. But
we don't have De Bruyne. I mean, we used to, but we don't now.
You put Kova in that City team with the way they play, bro. He'd pick out, he'd get some outrageous assists. I'm 100% sure of it. But I do agree with the second part. Absolutely, the priority should be, I mean, over the likes of Aubameyang. Yeah, we should have got midfield first. And other shit is interesting. I mean, I don't know what position he's talking about. I do think centre. Yeah, I do think centre back is absolute priority though for us. It's like even in this video,
we have Fofana apparently done now, so you know.
Yeah, but even in this look, we got one red card and we're like, oh, we don't know who to play in the centre back now. So
exactly, yeah. There you go, Charlie. Finish it off. What do you think about the super chat? Do you think we should have prioritized midfield over Aubameyang and other shit? Let's not assume he meant centre back.
Yeah, I think the midfield is definitely a priority, but I agree with Pice. We lost two defenders. We haven't brought two defenders back in, so centre back defence was always a priority this summer. It was probably the number one priority.
Sorry to interrupt you again.
Yeah,
but the problem probably is that Tuchel in his mind sees Cucurella as a centre back.
Yeah, probably, but he'll count as part of the pool of centre backs because he can play. Because he can play there if needed. All right, it's not an out-and-out centre back, but it's options. He'll probably count Reece James as centre back cover as well because it kind of is. So look, defence was definitely a priority, and Fofana needs to come in. And with Fofana coming in, it means that Reece James can play his favoured position, and that's massive ticks all round. In terms of Kovacic, look, I get what Pius is saying. Kovacic is a progressive midfield player, but it comes a point for me where you can look at it both ways. Should he get more assists? Absolutely. But then also, he's probably missed out on a few assists like a lot of players have because the finishing's been poor. So it does work both ways. But if you're looking purely from a numbers perspective, which you shouldn't always do, the eye test is important as well, or just as important. Kovacic should be I know he doesn't play that. I know he's not played a lot recently and he's picked up a lot of injuries, which is frustrating, but he should get more assists for, like a creative midfield player should be getting. If you're a creative midfield player, for me, you should be getting 10 assists per season. Like, you just should be. And he's not.
If you're an out-and-out creative midfielder,
That's completely subjective, though, because you could... I'm not saying he's got a comp worthy of 10 missed assists, but he could quite easily... get sure. At least sort of more than he does get. For
sure. And it works both ways. You're only as good as the players you're passing the ball to. So, our finishing's poor. So, we probably are missing out on a number of assists. I just think, look, he's definitely our most progressive midfield player. I think he's probably our best midfield player in terms of what he brings, and we certainly miss him when he's not playing.
In terms of overall package, for sure.
Yeah, in terms of overall package. I just think in terms of creativity. And I know it works both ways, but he could offer more. I think for someone of his ability, I think there's definitely more there. Like we should.
But then again, he hasn't been able to play this season. Maybe
that's the problem as well.
He's making that step now, and then
that goes back to the point that midfield should have 100% been a priority, because we know that Kante and Kovacic are going to pick up 2-3 injuries a season and miss a couple of months of the season easily. We're going to get other injuries as well. And there's no one in midfield out of the pool of midfielders we've got is of the same profile. They're all different profiles. So if one of them's missing, you have to replace them with a different type of player. Like midfield's the only area in the squad that just hasn't been invested in for years. I know we brought Kovacic in, but realistically, I think we only signed him because there was a transfer ban and we needed numbers. If there was no ban, I don't know who would have made that move permanent, because his loan deal was shocking. So
maybe shocking is a bit harsh, but
it wasn't great. Anyway. It wasn't great at all. But I think midfield should have been a priority. But apparently Nathan has confirmed the Fofana deal. I would imagine. I'd imagine so.
Yeah, on Twitter.
All right.
There's a Fabrizio tweet as well to load up.
Guessing why is Twitter being weird and not showing me Nathan, the only Nathan I follow when I type in Nathan.
It's not there.
Let me just highlight that and then we'll get that up on screen. Can confirm, bloody hell, ads on Twitter piss me right off, especially when they take half an hour to load. And then as you try to click on another tweet, it all of a sudden loads an ad, which you never wanted to see. I'm like, did I ask for this? No. So leave me alone. But Nathan says, and I will highlight it now for you, ladies and gentlemen, that Chelsea basically confirms what Fabrice Hawkins said and what we looked at a few minutes ago. That Chelsea
Fabrizio's done it as well. Sorry.
No way, finally.
Yeah, Fabrizio just tweeted 40 seconds ago, just confirming what that Fabrice Hawkins reported. It says, final details, then here we go. News bids were submitted today following a planned call on Thursday. And then personal terms agreed weeks ago. So it's done, basically. Just the final details, he's saying. And then here we go.
Very good. Let me just highlight that tweet quickly once it loads. Bloody hell. Not that one. Now we'll get an ad probably that will be in the way.
No, you're good, mate.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought? So, I mean, you've just read it out anyway, but just now that people can see it. So, Chelsea and Leicester are now on the verge of reaching a full agreement for Wesley Fofana, confirmed as Fabrice Hawkins reported. Fair play. Also, see, people always have a go at Fabrizio for just being a tap-in merchant, as they say, and only reporting other people's news. Well, he's giving this kid might be older, I don't know, but 20k followers. Like, don't get a bigger shout out in this industry that they're both in than a shout out from Fabrizio. So,
mate, that'll get him. He'll get 20k followers from that probably. Probably double his following,
if not more.
Mate, he's really good. He was the first one to break Koulibaly agreement. Literally the very first one. He is good.
Yeah, fair play to him. Fair play to him, and fair play to us, because we're now going to round out this stream. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're still here, I appreciate you very much. Subscribe if you haven't already. That will be flipping phenomenal. Like I said, smash the like button as well. Let's get to at least 100 likes if we can on your way out. Just click that like button and then you can say bye-bye. Please do also subscribe to Charlie's channel. The link is down in the description. And of course, do also follow Pice on his Twitter. And most importantly, check out his website, chelseafc365.com. Links are all down in the description, like I say. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Let's hope we can return to winning ways tomorrow. But yeah, up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards, and we'll see you next time.